Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy New Year. It's our first episode of the year here. We are back for episode 22 of the Remote Play Gaming Podcast, or RPGP. I am one of your hosts, Evan, and joining us is our only other reliable co-host, Mark. One day, maybe Curtis will show up again for more than a couple minutes at the end of an episode. But wow, we've got quite an episode to start off the year. We've had quite the leak week, if you will, with Switch 2 rumors and leaks and stuff being shown on the CES show floor, whether it's real or not. We will be diving into that. And, I'm excited to talk about all kinds of Switch rumors. So, Mark, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm pretty good, man. You know what I was thinking is that since we're the only ones that show up for the podcast, we should get like kill streaks in Call of Duty or something. Like for every episode we get on, like we get 5, we can get ourselves a nickname, and then like we should like start wearing medals and stuff like that. So I'll be the Thunder from Down Under for now, since I'm in Australia.
Every episode Curtis misses an hour he has to play on a Switch.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Or like he's got to put $1 in his Switch 2 jar so he can buy a Switch 2.
Right.
$10 in.
Right. It's like bringing in the dogs on the kill streaks for Call of Duty, right?
Yeah. But no, man, doing good. Happy to be here. Wish we had 3, but we got 2. That's good enough for me. So I'm interested to dive into some of the stuff with you tonight for me.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. So good evening to you. Good morning to me, right? So we are a podcast about video games and what's going on and what we're playing and really just our thoughts and speculation on the industry. What's happening in the industry is one of our favorite things to talk about. So welcome here. If you, I guess if you're a listener or previous listener or not, we're happy to have you either way. So let's start off, Mark. What have you been playing?
What have I been playing? I've got 3 things, so it's a short list for me. So maybe I'll just run through and try not to monologue too much, and then pitch back over to you. But I did wrap up Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. That game was fantastic. I thought that, there's a few minor gripes and shortcomings, but overall, like, just really well designed. I mean, nails the aesthetic of Indiana Jones, and you've played that a little bit, I think, and some of our listeners have, and I know I was discussing it with some today in our Discord. Shout out to the Discord. Please join in the link below. But I would put that game A tier for me. It's not quite S tier like Masterpiece in terms of like a stealth type game. It's up there in the tip top of stealth games. There's some minor grievances I have with some of the traveling around in some of the areas, some of the fighting mechanics and stuff like that. And otherwise, it performs beautifully on the Series X. It was fun. I didn't do all the side quests, but I did like there's 3 field work, like side temple type adventures in each area. Did all of those. They were just extremely fun. Really, really enjoyed the game. So definitely check that out if you get a chance. And the other 2 games I've been playing are Marvel Rivals. Just broke, by the way, 500,000 concurrent on Steam again. And that's again only Steam, so console numbers still add into that. So extremely popular, definitely a hero shooter that's done correctly, right? It's not overly greedy in how much things cost. Everything's free to play. You don't buy characters or anything. They literally put all the characters in the game, so there's no upfront cost to the player to play whoever they want. It's not on rotation where it's like, this is this week's free hero. It's like, no, you get the whole game. If you want to look cool, you can pay us to look cool, and that's it, right? So I really appreciate that, and I love Marvel. And I've been playing some Path of Exile 2 with one of our listeners, Funkstar, in the Discord. So really enjoying that time I'm getting with him. It's a little tough with the time zone, but getting a couple hours in, and the game is pretty good, even though it's early access. So that's my long-winded 3 games. What have you been playing, or do you have any thoughts on what I've been playing?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, like I've been into India a little bit. I not nearly as far as a lot of you guys. I mean, like you said, you beat it. Funk beat it. As I told Lapidus that I would say I'm going to pronounce those 2 names now.
And we butcher names. If you join the Discord, expect to have your name butchered.
Yeah. So no. But yeah. So you guys, you and Funk have beaten the game. I I think I maybe talked last episode a little bit. I was like, oh man, there's just way too much stealth and blah blah blah. And then I might have mentioned that I was like, maybe I just need to try one of these outfits out. Well, I did. I tried one of those outfits out, and I was like a couple hours into the game, right? And it was the first outfit you get, and I put the outfit on. I walk out, and the whole environment just completely changes. It went from a restricted zone to there was a restricted zone that was open that is no longer open as soon as so it actually like changes based on what I'm sure it was just a trigger point, right? As soon as I put that outfit on, that zone's like, there's like a fence or something that's closed off, and like it's just even the whole like I said, the environment or whatever, the map changed a little bit. But for the most part, I'm not in a restricted zone anymore. So I just walk around, and I did run into like a captain or something, and a Nazi captain or something that was like started to recognize me, and then I had to figure that out or whatever. But
yeah, the elite enemies, they're a little smarter than the other ones, right? So they kind of clue into you. Yeah. So, and there's one of there's at least one, if not two, disguises in every like overworld zone, if that makes sense. Like acts of the game. So like when you move from like from the Vatican to the Sahara and or Giza. So always be on the lookout for that. You can find that special outfit that'll help make things so much easier.
Yeah, but as you mentioned, like it's like overall, like I think the whole collective of the performance with the visuals and all that stuff is honestly just one of the most impressive games, and how it looks and performs and everything. Maybe it's not absolutely the best looking game. Maybe it's not the absolute like, it's not. I don't know if it locks in at 30 or 60 frames per second or whatever, like all the time. But it's just like for how good it looks and the gameplay that you have, right? Like, because Hellblade looks stunning and probably runs at a really good frame rate, but like it's so like locked in on what you can do. It's almost a walking simulator, right? Where this is not. Like this is way more than a walking. This is an interactive environment. Maybe not quite to the level of like an Elder Scrolls games, but we know how those, or a Bethesda game, Bethesda game studio game, but we know how those perform, right? So and look, right, like you have the Deadeye, NPCs and all that stuff, where it's like you don't get that in this like you said feels like, oh, I am Indiana Jones. I am the Harrison Ford Indiana Jones, voiced by Troy Baker, which sounds right? But so pretty cool. Some fun mechanics. I mean, the whip is such a fun thing to play around with, right? You like whip and climb and do all that stuff. And the stealth is not as bad. Like I said, after I figured out that I just had to put on disguise. But the one thing that has me like, I'm like, do I want to go put 30 hours into this? Just like, cause it's like, I've heard it's great, but not like this top tier. And it's really great, but there's like the stealth is still a heavy mechanic in it. And I'm like, I don't know. I got so many other things I want to play. Do I want to keep diving into this? I kind of want to see some of the tombs and stuff or whatever. Just a little bit of that exploration piece, because that's what I'm excited. I'm still in the Vatican. I accidentally went back to the castle and I was like, oh, it's a new area. And then I'm like walking around. I was like, this kind of looks familiar. This is definitely where I started. And then, but I do love the integration of like the map and like how it uses. Like, I love it, but also it's like, when I really just want to look and figure out where I am and stuff, it's like a little bit like I just want the map to take up the screen. I think it's really cool how they integrate it and make it feel like it's a part of what you're doing, but still have the map markers and stuff, and the way that you can track yourself on the map, but the map itself is Indy holding it, and as opposed to just like, oh, here's a screen of a map. But and the way it does a lot of that stuff, right? To basically get you sucked in, wrapped in, immersed into the environment is really cool.
It makes you feel like an adventurer, right? Yeah. And don't forget, you can, I missed this at first, but you can move the stick more and it pulls the map further up to your face. So it's more like covering the screen instead of looking down there. And the fast travel, I didn't use it, but like where I was at, like between the Vatican and the castle, the starting area there's like these road signs, and it looks like to me, it looks like that's a fast travel method. It is, it is, and you could blink and you miss it, man. I think a couple of us played it, didn't realize it was that until like the next area.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, like I'm gonna if there's anything that gets highlighted on the screen, I'm gonna be like, "What's that?" Right? Like that's how I play Skyrim. That's how I play Fallout games. That's how I play, just any game has like exploration. I just want to like see everything. So of course I found it. But and there's certain like spots that are locked if you haven't discovered them yet, I'm assuming, or if haven't progressed to that point. But on those road signs, but they're open up once, you can just, like I said, I assumed fast travel. I didn't use that yet. That's where I kind of left off. But yeah, so Rivals. I'm just commenting on your what you've been playing. Marvel Rivals, I think, is a game that like 5 years ago I would have been all about. I don't really play competitive games right now. Like, and maybe I will, maybe at some point. But I do miss it. I miss just like jumping in, especially with some friends or whatever, playing a game. It's just like, all right, like the communication, the social the social aspect of it. But yeah. And then I can't remember what else you said you were playing, but
Path of Exile 2 was the last one.
Yeah, not for me. So I mean, I'm not, I assume it's not. I'm not into the Diablo type game. So, but
no, it's even more than that and darker. So it's on the more extreme side of that. So definitely something you would bounce off really quick, I think.
But yeah, so I forgot to mention last episode a game that I had been playing, and then I finally wrapped it up actually like a few days after last episode, and I've been using my favorite. I used my favorite gaming platform to play it, which is Netflix on my iPad. No, so it's I've got this this treadmill set up where I've got a couple Joy-Con paired to my iPad, and I'm playing these games that are just included with a Netflix subscription, right? So I was playing a Ranger, which honestly would have probably would have competed for my game of the year last year. In terms of games that came out last year, probably the best game I played that came out last year, or my favorite game that played out. Doesn't pass up Death's Door for me, but it's a really really cool like puzzle game, mostly puzzle game, a little bit of an adventure game, and where you are this your character is the way they traverse the map is through like shifting tiles, it's like it's grid-based map or whatever. You just kind of shift one tile up, down, left, right, or whatever. And
this game looked a lot of fun. I think we talked about it like maybe 4 or 5 episodes ago.
Yes. Yeah, we have
a screenshot.
I am. And the art and stuff is pretty cool. But let me see. Open image, a new tab.
Yeah, it's on my wish list to play, but it's on Netflix, huh? For free.
Yeah, so it's on Netflix. If you have a Netflix subscription, you can play this on any mobile device, right? So, which is pretty cool.
I'm not gonna lie. Like I thought when you were like, I'm on the treadmill with the Joy-Cons, I'm like, okay, this sounds like some games done quick shit. Where you're like, I'm gonna do an Elden Ring run with Joy-Cons attached to my legs on the treadmill.
Right.
When I jump on the treadmill, it jumps.
Yeah, right. No, that's funny. It's cooler than that. I promise. That would be cool. That's probably not as cool as what I was doing, but no, it's a that would be a different kind of.
No, but it's a good way to stay fit and get some exercise in and play games, make it less boring. It's awesome.
Yeah, I get like 45 minutes on the treadmill without even thinking about it. Doing this right at a time. So yeah, so you're this character in the green coat here, and you can see kind of how there's like squares, right? Each tile there, and it's just like to move over, right? So that sword is how you have to find the like things like these swords on the map, and that is just the combat is like there's no real combat. The combat is explicitly a puzzle. I've talked about how Death's Door almost approaches combat in a puzzle way, but there's actual combat in Death's Door. This is the combat is I'm gonna take this sword and I'm gonna move the grid over one tile at a time until it hits that pink, purple, black monster there. And then once you hit that, right, those big bulbous orbs or whatever that are next to it, it kind of disappears and clears clears that path forward for you. So
it's a puzzle to fetch the sword and then to move it to the enemy, and then that does the attack.
Yeah, so you find the sword somewhere on the map, and like the puzzle is to like, how do I get this sword to that monster in front of me, right? Like, so because like if you're in front of that sword, you can't get it. You have to like, oh, okay, I gotta do it.
Yeah,
Like if you go to the edge of if you go to the either edge, right, like any of the edges, it'll loop you to the other side of the section, right? So and if you see the rocks on the bottom there, they've got like a little purple like aura around them. So those are things that won't move. So like you can't loop to a square that is there, and you can't push objects through it. You can't, it doesn't move with the grid, right? So there's like working around. There's a few mechanics and stuff that you kind of discover throughout the game in terms of, or obstacles that you discover throughout the game. But it's a pretty decent story. I mean, the story is just like something that carries along through the gameplay and through those puzzles. But the
is it difficult?
There's some tricky puzzles. It's not a hard game.
Okay.
But it's a really it's a satisfying puzzle game. I really, really enjoyed this, and I
makes you feel smart.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a good game design, right? When you can make the player feel that, that low skill to enter, high to master, you feel good. When you do it, and you're like, wow, I am smart. Yeah, it's cool.
And it's about a 5 or 6 hour game, I believe.
Did you beat it
correctly? Yeah. Oh yeah, I beat this game.
Did you take 10?
Did
you take 10 hours to beat it?
I think it took me about 5 or 6 hours, and I did a good chunk of stuff. I didn't do absolutely everything, but I did do a lot, which is generally how I play games. I do a good chunk of things, and it was the game, but the length of the game, perfect, excellent. Like the pacing was pretty good, and then like it finished right before it felt like, okay, I'm ready to wrap this up. I will say the ending, like you're like, okay, I'm about to wrap this up, and then it goes on for like another hour and a half, and you're like, oh, I thought it was 30 minutes.
6 hours to beat on how long to beat. Normal price $30. I think it's good that it's not like a full price game, but also I'm surprised at $30 for 6 hours. But that's great that it's on Netflix.
$30. Yeah, absolutely. And I would imagine this goes probably on sale. I mean, it came out last year, so I don't know how often it goes on a deep discount, but I'm sure it will. $30 is a lot to put. I love this game. I really, really like this game, but $30 is quite a bit to pay for that.
Yeah.
But no, this is up there, and like is an excellent indie to me. Probably one of my it'll probably go down as one of my favorite. Like, I mean, it's like an 8.5 for me, I would say. So, maybe not quite up there with something like Sea of Stars, definitely not Death's Door, but maybe with Sea of Stars, it's just like, it's very different, right? Sea of Stars was a 40-hour game, and this is a 6 or 7 hour game, right? So just a lot different experience, but awesome game. Highly recommend it. And Netflix is, like I said, that's kind of becoming, I started playing Braid Anniversary, so I'll go into my next game, unless you got any thoughts or questions about a Ranger. But
no, we can move on. But I was just going to say, maybe this is one of those ones where this is kind of their initial foray or whatever, and then we see a follow-up game that's like really fantastic for them, really allows them to flesh out either this idea or what they want to do next. So I think this is their first game. It's a team of 4 people, Furniture and Mattress. It's a game developer.
So the I'm gonna comment on that real quick. The game starts out right, and like you open it up on the iPad, and first off, I'm playing on a mobile device through Netflix, right? And it just like opens up with this logo that kind of shows up, and it's like Furniture and Mattress. Like, am I getting an ad in this? Because like I'm playing through Netflix on a free game, and I'm just like, I've got the ads here, Netflix, and I was like, really? I was like, I mean, whatever. And I can't. I'm not paying for this. I can't complain. And then it's just a logo, and I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I don't know. It's like, it's kind of funny, kind of fun, or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
you're on that ad tier Netflix. That's hilarious.
But so it's funny, and it's like Furniture and Mattress. Like, what kind of name of a studio is that, right? So so pretty. But after I saw that, I just kind of liked the the humor in that. But,
Are you about to go on to Braid? Is that what you said?
So I started Braid. Yeah, I'm a couple hours into Braid.
So wait, because I just want to say something really quick. So the 4 people that worked on this game, it says some stuff that they've worked on in the past. So it calls out Celeste, Guacamelee 2, Braid, and a couple others here. So I just thought that was interesting. The guy that worked on Braid is an artist. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I just some of the mechanics and stuff obviously don't remind me of Celeste. That's a it's a precision platformer, right? But I mean, visually and a little bit, and like in Celeste, those monsters that are on the screen there. I don't know if you get monsters that look like that, but that art style or that type of look is I definitely would say
it's dead on. I'll share it really quick. It's like this watercolor style Braid.
The purples, pinks, and
but like
dark.
It's green and yellow, but look at that same art style in the rocks and the
that's Braid. Okay.
I'm just saying like the 2 art styles, you can see some of the commonalities between them.
Right. Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway,
so
you've
it's
been
kind of
playing
funny
Braid.
because it was a natural progression. Yeah, so it felt like a natural. I'm playing that on Netflix on the treadmill, right? So it's really good so far. It started out, I mean, just this game, this is one of the kind of the first breakout indies, right? Or like there was like a wave of breakout indies back in the day: Super Meat Boy, Braid, Fez. Some of these which were all in that one Netflix documentary, right? This is playing through this, I was like, man, this comes out today, it still stands out as a brilliant puzzle adventure game, right? Like the concepts and ideas in here just brilliant. I mean, I don't have a better word for it. Really cool game. And again, that's on Netflix, but I'm pretty sure this goes on the Braid Anniversary, which came out like a year or two ago, goes on sale for like $5. Pretty I want to say it was just $5 in the Steam winter sale and possibly the eShop sale as well. But so it goes pretty cheap, pretty I would guess relatively often. I know the person that did the anniversary edition just kind of like talked about how it's like just hard to get sales now compared to when Braid broke out. But yeah, no, I've been playing this. You collect those little puzzle pieces, right, to do puzzles, almost like a Banjo-Kazooie type of thing, right? But in terms of the gameplay, it's a little bit of platforming. It's kind of like the Mario vs. Donkey Kong series in terms of like what the gameplay is like, but the puzzles, you can rewind time. You don't die. Like you don't die.
Time manipulation.
Right? There's never a game over screen. And when you die, you just hit rewind and like go back to a point, which doesn't mean this game isn't hard. This is definitely harder than a Ranger was for me. And like, I love puzzles that it's like, but some of these I'm like, man, they're real brain burners, but it just gives you that real satisfaction when you figure out a puzzle for me. No, really cool game. And I am looking forward to wrapping through this one. It's another shorter game. So, yeah. And then I've been playing another short game, which is Tome, TOEM. And it's you're like this little bird that goes around taking pictures. This is more of a cozy, just chill. It's actually like gets compared to like in terms of the vibes and everything, a short hike, which we've talked about before, where there's not really like any. This is a very easy game, and there's no combat, right? There's no like you're just kind of that little bird or whatever it is there. You're just exploring, you're leaving your hometown, and you're just like, I'm gonna go take pictures and see the world, and you kind of start helping out, like you run into this ghost and it's like
was that the guy behind the tree there?
That's one. Yeah, you just kind of run throughout like ghosts. There's kind of a running story with the ghosts. So you run into one ghost that's like one of your challenges is to go help ghosts throughout the rest of the world. And it's like one ghost is like, man, I really wish I knew what I looked like before. And it's like this horse and you got to go find a picture. You got to go take a picture.
That's cool though.
yeah, it's definitely like just an exploration and take pictures of things. And you have, like I said, these lists of challenges that get you these stamps that help you make progress to get to the next stage or the next level on the map. And you have a few different spots. Like you start in the forest, or you start in your hometown, and you go to this forest place, and then you go to a beach setting, and then a city setting, and then a mountain setting kind of thing. And this is again another like 6-hour game.
How did you stumble? How did you stumble upon this one?
So actually, yeah. So great question. So David Fenn is the composer to Death's Door, and that's how
you were deep in the hole. You're deep in the hole. You're going down you're looking up SoundCloud of the composer of Death's Door to find this.
Right. So he didn't compose this game.
Okay.
But on Spotify,
there's yet another connection.
Right. On Spotify, I've been listening to David Fenn radio, basically. So it's playing some David Fenn tracks, plus that it brings in other composers for other indie games, which this was either Jonathan Gear or Mark Sparling, I believe, that composed this game, the soundtrack for this game. So Mark Sparling, who did he did A Short Hike, so maybe he didn't do Tone, maybe he did, I don't know. But and then Jonathan Gear did Owlboy and something else. But I'm getting deep in the hole of indie game composers lately, though. Like I've been listening to you know what this is, I can't remember, but it's like unlaunchable socks or something like that. But some silly name, goofy name, but anyway, so these started popping up, and I was like, man, I'm really enjoying this music. It's real, like, just kind of chill, good composed music. And I was like, I gotta check this game out. And then I was talking on ATB, shout out to Attack the Backlog on YouTube, but I was on his Discord server, and I was talking to somebody about so I don't know if they mentioned this game, but like this game just kind of kept showing up in my just in my feed in my life. And then I mentioned it or something in there, and they're like, oh, it's kind of like, Short Hike or whatever, and then highly recommend it, it's a pretty good game or something. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna go pick this up. It was like $1.99 on the eShop Christmas sale, holiday sale, New Year sale, whatever it was. But so I grabbed it for like I said, just a couple bucks, and I'm probably go I may have 100%. This may be the first game ever that I have 100% completed. Because, which, it's not a huge, it's not some serious, massive on-taking for this game, but it's kind of like, man, I'm getting all the stamps, and I'm pretty sure just getting all the stamps is 100% completion for this game. So, and it's so far in each place, I've gotten every stamp that I possibly could. And I was just like, I've got like one location after I finish this one. So I'm just kind of like, I might just go for it, right? And it might take me another hour or two to do that. And but yeah, it's Tome. I've been playing. I think I mentioned UFO 50 last week or last episode, and I've been playing a little bit more of that, discovering some more of the games. And I'm just like, I get sucked into games, but I also want to play all 50 games, but I don't want to just like play all 50 games for like 2 minutes and then move on to the next one. You
want to give them their due time, right?
Right, exactly. And it's kind of it's really cool. Just like it's almost like opening up a new game every couple, and it's just like it gives it a lot of that sense of like of early days of video games where it's like, I don't know, it's a really cool packaged experience. UFO 50 is that's especially like I would say our generation and older would really appreciate, and maybe the younger but our generation older like are familiar with what that games that felt like this playing, right? So and just kind of discovering a new game, and it's just like, something about like this game isn't like overly complicated or anything, but like it's just kind of fun. Like, and there's like this Snake game that has a twist on like playing Snake, right? But there's a little more to it, but yeah. So that's one I think I will just continue to play over time, and something. And I jump back into Spikes, as you've called it. The it's like 5 or 6 So another short game that I'll eventually finish here. I'm just chipping away at all these short games. But and
Hey,
then
this is you discovering your games. This is what I
yeah,
saw.
exactly.
It's all connected.
I love discovering new indies. Part of my joy about video games and why I love indies is like discovering new indies or whatever, something like in making these connections and looking like that in the mirror. But
this is what the Steam wish list sees as you're looking at the screen.
Yeah, I'm probably pushing 350 games on my Steam wish list, which also Deku Deals now has Steam and PlayStation and stuff in it. So it's just like everything. So yeah, which is pretty cool. I'll still probably manage my Steam wish list because it's like that's right there on the storefront. But yeah, Deku Deals is really coming through. Pretty cool. I have 2 Steam wish lists, but one my Deku Deals has Steam games on it, and then I have my Steam wish list that has Steam games on it. And yeah,
I think the people deserve to know that I went to gift Curtis and Evan a game for Christmas, and I went through Evan's wish list, and I was like, all right, I can't do this forever. This has got to stop. Let me pick a game. And then I go to Curtis's, and I'm like, oh, man, here we go. And it's like 6 games in there. 3 of them were from like 10 years ago, and 3 of them are like unreleased, like Light No Fire and a couple other ones. And I'm like, okay. All right.
Is he still gonna take a
Yeah, that's what I was like. I don't know what he was thinking when he did this. Was he tripping on acid or something? Like they were off the wall games I'd never heard of, and I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna go pick something, take a stab in the dark here. So
right, just two difficult people to buy a game for 2 completely opposite reasons.
Yeah,
I was like,
100%.
That's so on brand for Curtis and I to have that contrast, right? Like, but I'm sure his 10-year-old games were still more graphical, high graphic, better graphics than my games that released this year, right? UFO 50 that looks like games that came out 40 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So something I haven't necessarily been playing yet, but I did finally get Heroic Launcher on my Steam Deck, and I did start up, like I just tried out, where you're getting all those free Epic games, all those free GOG games from Amazon or Amazon games. So you can log into GOG, Epic, or Amazon games on Heroic Launcher. And, there's free games coming out on all those all the time through Epic and through Amazon. So I installed Dredge and just opened it up just to make sure it ran and everything correctly. Because it was a little bit of a setup to get it running smoothly, but I did get it. I got Edge, added to my Steam library or whatever, so I could do some xCloud. But the input's not working, but it's at least there, so I'll just work through that so I can play some xCloud games and something like I think Octopath Traveler 2 would be great on the Steam Deck because it's not latency dependent or anything. It's a turn-based JRPG, right? So, and then so lastly, I've been playing
Octopath Traveler. So many games, man. I played 3.
I know.
It's been 2 weeks, and you played what, 20?
Yeah, something crazy. I thought I only had a couple of games to mention, and
we said before the show, all right, let's do the highlights of what we played. And here he is,
right,
with the highlights and the lowlights and everything between. Yeah. All right. Anything else before we move on to Acer? Go ahead.
I started a Ubisoft game last night. So I mentioned it last night, that I would be talking about it this morning. What I started. Immortals: Phoenix Rising was the guess of what I've been playing, and I was going to mention it was either Immortals: Phoenix Rising, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, or Prince of Persia: Lost Crown, and it is Prince of Persia and the Lost Crown on my Switch. Ooh. So, yeah, so I've been playing Tome on the Switch, and I was like, all right, I want to play like one game at a time. And I was going to finish up Tome before I played Prince of Persia, but like my kids like watching me play Tome, and my son is playing Tome with me, and he kind of likes watching what I do, so he can go figure. He knows what he needs to go do because he can't read. And at least very well he can read a few words here and there, so he kind of likes to watch me to kind of get an idea of what he has to go do. So I was like, all right, after they went to bed, I was like, I've been really itching to play Prince of Persia again. Somebody in ATB's Discord just mentioned that they had just finished it. I've got another close friend locally that's been playing it, and if they don't play as much video games as me, and I was like, okay, I got time to finish up Tome, and then they'll before they get too far, and I'll just end up catching up to them, right? So I'll give them a little head start, and I'm like, I just checked their play log, and they're over 10 hours played so far, and I was like, oh, I gotta catch up here. I played too many games, right? So, but yeah, but I'll tell you, I got a little past the like introductory. So first off, it throws you into the game, and the tutorial or whatever, like any game starts out with the way they teach you how to play. Very well done, straightforward, gets right to the point. In 20 minutes, you know how to play Prince of Persia. And you just, and it's you're playing a level, right? It's not like, okay, do this. It's just kind of like as you're playing through a level, it brings up the cues, right? Like, all right, press B to double jump off the wall or whatever, and do this to, but it's like you're just going right through it. You get through a boss fight in the first 30 minutes, right? And and then that's basically the end of the tutorial. But it's it's kind of how like Dark Souls Elden Ring has that initial boss that you fight, and that's just kind of like the how get you started into Elden Ring. But you have all that done in 30 minutes on Prince of Persia, and oh man, it's fully voice acted. It's got a really cool visual style. The world looks really cool in the background and stuff. You almost feel like you're playing this. Like, I just want to go up those stairs behind me and stuff. Like, it feels like it's a part of the world. It doesn't look like it's a part of the background. It looks like it's a part of the world. Which I was like, I would love just a 3D adventure Prince of Persia game in this style. But so far. Yeah, well, probably, right? So that's probably what I need to jump into. I haven't done really anything in Prince of Persia, but I'm about an hour and a half maybe into this game so far, and I'm so far I was like, this is an excellent first impression, and highly recommend, especially into Metroidvanias, to at least check this out. And this is I've heard nothing but praise from people that have actually played this, and generally, if somebody's played it, I feel like they've either beaten it or will beat it. It's really cool. The combat is it's pretty smooth. There's a little bit to figure out. It's not super easy, but it's not very hard. And I'm just playing on the normal difficulty. I think there's four difficulty levels, and I'm playing on the second one, which is just the default. So there are 2 harder difficulties if you really want to make it harder. But there's a parry mechanic that's useful. There's this like dodge slide thing. You either dodge backwards or you slide forwards, and you can like slide underneath the enemy, and then kind of pop up on the other side and hit them and stuff. So it's really like the combat is fun. It's fun, and I think it'll be fun for anybody at any level, because this is the game that won most accessibility or the accessibility award, right, at the TGAs. At TGAs, I hate saying the TGAs, but I also hate saying TGAs. The Keeleys, there we go. And I was just I discovered right away playing this game, like, just getting started. It's like, all right, do you want this you can customize the difficulty settings, right? I said there's just built-in settings, but you can customize each. There's a lot of customization options. There's like text visibility options. There's there's just a lot here. Even like the map and stuff, you can choose like, all right, show me where to go. Don't show me so much where to go, right? Like, as opposed to like always tell me where I got to go next, or don't. And I'm not telling myself, and you can change that at any time, right? You can change all of this at any time during any point in the game.
That's awesome.
So
you gotta love that.
Yeah. So really cool. And in terms of that accessibility, it's really neat. And it's like it caters probably to people that do have like physical disabilities, but also just people that are just or more than just physical disabilities, any kind of disabilities, but also just people that it's like, this is the experience I want to have with this game. And it's I mostly like developers to create the game that the experience that they want to create, but it's like, it's really cool to say like, just to be inclusive, to see something be this inclusive and also just be so well done. So it feels like there's a lot of polish to this game. Again, it feels like the story is going to be pretty good. It in terms of Metroidvania, so like coming from like Ori, coming from Hollow Knight, like these really highly acclaimed Metroidvanias, this feels like more of an action adventure game that just happens to be a Metroidvania, like in terms of like you've got the story, you've got like the Metroidvania seems to be in the background and not a bad way. Even if you love Metroidvanias, it's just like oh, you can do a lot more than just this this platforming. I don't know, like what like in Ori, obviously Oreo has an excellent story, and it's not that it doesn't, but the fully voice acted and it just like the I don't know, it's just kind of at the forefront of this or whatever, and it's really good. So far, I'm like, if this keeps going the way this goes for the next 30 hours or whatever, how long it takes to beat this game, I might like it more than Hollow Knight or the Ori games.
Dang. Have you beaten Hollow Knight or the Ori games?
I have beaten Blind Forest, and I'm a good chunk of the way through Will of the Wisps, and I did get a good chunk of the way through Hollow Knight, but I have not beaten Hollow Knight. But I feel like
this game is 16 and a half hours.
Oh, so probably 25 for me. But no, maybe 20, 25.
That's a pretty good. That's a pretty good length.
Yeah.
Especially
I think I agree, and
game.
I think that's what the Hori games are too, or say Ori. Ori and
the Blind Forest is 9, and Ori and Will Lewis is 12.
Okay, got a little choppy there. I don't know if it's my end or your end, but so a little bit longer than the Ori.
9 for the original and 12, for the.
All right, and then Hollow Knight's like 30, right? So I feel like Hollow Knight's a long one, but yeah, all good games. But to me, this is gonna rank up with the best of them in terms of Metroidvanias. And honestly, like to me, it's more than just a Metroidvania. If you don't like Metroidvanias, you still might like this game, again because of the accessibility, right? Like the thing, the reasons you don't like Metroidvanias might be accommodated for here, right?
Right.
So, a lot of good things to say about this one. I look forward to playing a lot more of this.
Okay, so
we're almost 40 minutes in.
Yeah, so let's keep it moving. I am going to jump in from time to time to cut you off. Would you play this on an 11-inch handheld? Enter the Acer Nitro Blaze 11. This is a Verge article, but it has several screenshots, so that's why we're going to use it here. All credit to the Verge for this part. But here it is. Look at this beast. Is a Steam Deck competitor.
I gotta say, I'm certain that person has massive hands.
Go ahead. Yeah, I mean to stretch across there.
Yeah, so I don't think I could palm this thing like that. Based on some of the other pictures,
here's some size comparisons. Yeah, look at that. I have a hard time reaching around my Steam Deck.
Right. So this thing makes the Steam Deck look like a Switch Lite, right? Like the Steam Deck is monstrous in size to me. Like I hold my Steam Deck, I'm like this, and I just always feel like it's huge. And honestly, I feel like I tend to lean toward playing my Switch just because it just feels more portable. It feels more handheld. Like or it's like, and
I gotta go to the gym just to lift my Steam Deck, man. It makes your arms sore.
So I'm just like, and this thing just absolutely, like, saying it dwarfs this, or makes dwarfs the Steam Deck. The Steam is an understatement. But it is man. I shared a picture in our Discord, I think, with you as well. Or maybe it was in our group chat with Curtis, but where there's a guy holding it, and it just looks just so out of place. I mean, that's mass. Oh, it's so big. The Steam Deck.
The Steam Deck almost fits into the screen of this Nitro Blaze 11. Okay, so all jokes aside, do you think it can take off? And then do you think this thing can take off at all?
Well, they do have the Nitro Blaze 8 as well, so the Nitro Blaze is a brand, maybe. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I think this is a niche within a niche, right? Like, I think the handheld PC market is still niche, right? There's probably 8 million-ish, probably 5 million Steam Decks out there, roughly, and then maybe a few million of the like ROG Allies and the Lenovo Legion Go's and these other PC handhelds. And I think this is just even like, first off, it's like $1,200.
Yeah.
So it's like you could buy like 3 Steam Decks for the price of one of these things. And second off, it's like $1,100.
Yeah.
So maybe like 2.5 Steam Decks, right? Or like 5.5 Switch Lights, but but 5.5 Switch Lights just would fit within the size of this thing. But but yeah, so I don't know. I mean, as a tabletop device, that's kind of cool, right? You almost wish this had the mouse functionality of the Lenovo Legion Go controller, and possibly the Switch 2 controller that we may get into here. But where it's like the controller kind of acts as a mouse as well. You think, because like this is more of a tabletop mode device, in my opinion. This is like, okay, I can throw this thing and I can do it kind of handheld like this, but also I can just kind of just slap it down, and it's almost like a laptop that, instead of having a big old keyboard, and you just like you have controllers built in instead. Because I don't know, if I'm playing this, I might, even if I'm playing it with controllers on it, I might have the kickstand out and just have it set on the table in front of me, to play it. Or
the specs aren't terrible. I mean, I think it's a custom Ryzen 7 chip, or at least a mobile chip. But I mean, the 120 hertz screen, I think it's variable refresh rate too. From what I read, I mean, I don't think it's terrible. Like it's a lot of money, and I don't know that I would ever buy something this big. But I get what you're saying. Like, you kind of, maybe this is kind of like going after their gaming laptop market, and they're like, hey, here's an awesome handheld alternative that's more for gaming than just the gaming laptop. Maybe I'm not really sure. I'd be curious to know, like, be a fly on the wall and understand like what the product development and marketing was for it. But well, I mean, we'll see if it sells, and maybe the 8-inch version, like you said, is gets a little farther along.
Yeah, like this is the flagship that like enthusiasts get. I'd be curious to hear Curtis's thoughts on it, because it's really not for me. So I feel like it naturally would be for him. But no, I would be curious, like because it's like, oh, it's going to be higher performing, right? It's what is that, 2K? It's got the 2560 by 1600 resolution. So is that 16? That would be 1600p, right? I'm curious to who this is for, because it's just not for me. I want my handhelds to be smaller. Not to me, like Switch Lite is like as big as a portable console can be. Even the Switch and the Switch OLED are I don't want to say they're too big, but they're no longer portable devices. They're handheld devices. And this is kind of pushing the limits of what a handheld device is. I mean,
you need them 90s 2000 Junko jeans to fit this in your pocket, man.
Yeah, right. Would it even fit in that? In those, right?
Yeah. The whole pants. You got to put it in the whole pants.
Right, the whole pants. Yeah, this thing could wear a pair of pants. But yeah, this is unreal. Yeah, we just had to show this. I wanted to, man, that one picture that I sent though, it just looked so.
I'll try and pull that up really quick, because that's hilarious. This I have found it. It's got both of them together.
Okay, yeah.
Here you go.
Yeah, just look how insane that looks.
It looks so comfortable. It looks so luxurious. I mean, I'm totally gonna take this out on my yacht. While I'm having drinks and say, "Hold up, homies. Let's pull up and play some Rivals."
Right, like this guy looks like he's at a tropical resort, just like just hanging out, and like, oh, we're done with dinner. We're just getting some drinks. Let me play a quick game on this real quick. And it's just like, not people don't do that with their Switch. And but you got to sell it that way. But like, to me, you did this, and like it's just like, oh, like this is not. Unless you're just like, oh, I want to look ridiculous. I want that. I want to look so ridiculous. I want to look like I'm holding a television while I play video games, because that's what it looks like. It looks like you're holding a television.
Right.
But just insane. And I think somebody, I can't remember where it was, but I was talking to somebody and they were like, it makes me think of, actually it might've been ATV, but, uh, said like, it reminds me of, you like 30 years ago, it's like you're on the bus holding your, you pull out your Game Boy and you're playing your Game Boy, then somebody pulls out the Atari Lynx, right? And it's just like, what is that monstrosity? And it's
Yeah,
like that. It's accurate, right? The Atari Lynx was a much more capable system than the Game Boy, right? But it still just looked like a monstrosity. Of
ridiculous.
course, the screen on the Atari Lynx was still about the same size of the screen of the Game Boy, right? Where this is at least 11-inch screen.
Yeah.
But
Well, I would love to hear the viewers and listeners' comments on this. So be sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more of the Acer
yeah, tell me
Nitro
why you're
Blaze
excited.
11.
Tell us why you're excited about the Nitro Blaze 11 and why I'm
Yeah,
wrong. This is this
yeah.
is a
Don't agree with us. Just tell us how awesome it is. But um, so we said at the beginning of the episode, leak week. Let's just jump into a lot of the leaks and rumors that are coming out. And the first thing I'm going to pull up is Final Fantasy VII. We know Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is coming to PC very soon. They just released some of the specs and features for that, I think.
Mhm.
But we're hearing that Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth are going to be heading multi-plat to Xbox and Nintendo. I would assume not the Nintendo Switch. Hopefully the Nintendo Switch 2,
right.
and maybe that'll tell us how capable that system is, a little clue. But what are your thoughts on Final Fantasy VII making its way over to those systems? I think just a really quick to kick it off is we know that they've had kind of like not funding problems, but these are huge undertakings, and they're doing 3 of them, and they're costly. And so we also mentioned before that as you get further in the series, there's less of a market, right? So you get all these people to play number 1, but if you're going to play number 2, you probably should have played number 1. And if you're going to play number 3, you probably should have played 1, 2 before that.
Yeah.
So your market gets smaller. So now they're potentially expanding this market. What do you think?
Yeah, I would say it's right. It's probably they're pretty meaty games, right? Like I don't know exactly how long these take to beat each one, but there's quite a bit here, right? And then if you see Rebirth come out, you're like, well, I don't want to play this one, and most people are going to be like, well, I can't play the second one without playing the first, especially because this is like Final Fantasy VII. It's all Final Fantasy VII. It's all one game broken up into 3 parts. So it's like, it's not like you're going to just jump in and watch, start watching Lord of the Rings at Two Towers, and and again, when the third one comes out, right, you're even reducing further. Have played both games, and maybe you can watch it on YouTube or whatever recap and just jump in at the latest entry. But yeah, and I think these remake and rebirth both struggle a little bit, even on the PS5 and the Xbox. No, just on the PS5, like 7 remake still looks like it could use a little bit more juice to it, right? And definitely rebirth. But so I can't imagine there's any world that this runs on the the OG Switch. So certainly got to be the Switch 2, right? And so the rumor is that remake is coming to Xbox and Switch 2 in 2025, and Rebirth will be coming in 2026, right? So which I think there's a lot of speculation based on what you're saying, right? How Square Enix is these have underperformed, and they're already like for Rebirth, you're already limiting. So like by limiting them to only one console platform, it's even if Sony has put up the money for that, it does, maybe Square didn't factor in the damage to the branding, Final Fantasy branding you're doing by limiting the number of people that can get eyes on this, right? Or can get their hands on it. And so it's more than just like, oh, the money that Sony puts up will make up for the number of sales, but it's like that's the reputation of the franchise going forward, right? The notoriety of the franchise, and you don't want to limit that, right? You want to expand it. You want to unlimit that, and so you want to be as many places as you can. I think as a third party publisher or developer, and it's wild to me. Like I don't third party exclusives is just really fascinating to me, unless they're doing a first party IP, right? Like Mario Rabbids. Like it's obvious, you're like if they were doing a I don't know, Ratchet and Clank game, or something like that. That would make it maybe a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
But
Did Square have a deal with them? I mean, they've been so in bed with Sony for a long time in many different ways. Not that they haven't released games on other platforms, but I know that they financially struggled before. I don't remember if Sony was like financing some of their games or.
yeah,
I'd
they were
have to
definitely
look.
money
Maybe
having the deals.
Right.
They were,
Okay.
Sony was putting up the money to have the exclusivity deals, right? And I think like Square's gone under new leadership, and the now the person running things at Square, I think, is I don't know if good friends or whatever, but has a good relationship with like Phil and Xbox. And like I said, we've seen more stuff coming recently that's come to the Pixel remasters have hit it, and there's a lot of talk of just like what's gonna more and more Square games showing up, right? They've had some stuff hit Game Pass, and things get buy anywhere, right? I believe the Pixel remasters are buy anywhere, so if you buy it once on Xbox, you have it on PC and Xbox consoles.
Yeah.
So so this makes sense to me. I'm just surprised that that the exclusivity deal with PlayStation wasn't until after the release of the third game, right?
Like the complete package, and then they would come back, because you see that sometimes too. It's like they complete the series, whatever, and then like years later, they're like, "Oh, I get the complete Ultimate Collection now on Xbox," and blah blah blah.
Right?
So yeah, I'm totally in line with there. So let me ask you this: you're obviously going to get the Switch 2. You're a Nintendo super fan. There's going to be tons of stuff to play, but let's say you find time. They maybe have this twin package. It's a great deal. It's like you score $60 for 2 games or something. Do you think you'll play this in the future? Do you see yourself playing?
If we have a year like last year, maybe, right? Like, $60 for the 2 games or something like that, which it would be based on the rumors, right? 2026 is the year that this would come. And but like this in 2025, not a chance. I'm having a hard time. Like, there's games that I'm absolutely like pumped to play, like pumped about, that I'm like, I don't know if I'll hit those this year. Like, I'm really interested in Adam Paul. I'm really interested in Claire Obscur, Expedition 33. I'm really, I'm like, I don't know. And these would be games I don't have to even pay anything extra for, right? They come day one on Game Pass, and I'm like, based on what we'll see like Nintendo come out with, but it's like I'm definitely playing Avowed, I'm definitely playing Outer Worlds 2, I'm definitely playing Fable, and maybe I'm playing Oblivion remake if that comes. Those are going to be jump up.
This guy's got like, Xbox in his blood. He bleeds green now. That game list.
Game Pass alone, right?
Yeah.
So
it's crazy.
It's like games that I don't have to spend an extra dime to play. I'm already like I are already more hours of gameplay than I play in a typical year. And then like I said, I mean, the Switch 2 certainly is dropping this year.
Yep.
Is it March 3rd? I don't know, but
we'll talk about that soon.
We'll talk about that. But it's just like, so once that drops, right? Like, I'm gonna be jumping into there's Metroid Prime 4. Which I think I'm going to be playing this year. And
I saw somebody's pre-order was canceled. Not that means a lot.
Amazon canceling pre-orders.
Yeah, they know something we don't.
But right. But it's like if Mario Kart 9 drops, which I'm sure it will this year, and then or some big multiplayer game, maybe it's just Splatoon 4 or something, but or both. But and then big 3D platformer has to be coming, right? But Nintendo's going to have some big games.
So to answer the question directly, there's no chance. It has to be really low. Even 2026, maybe. I mean, it's sounding from the backlog, because there's going to be more stuff coming. So this game you're interested, but it's not high on your list compared to other stuff. So
yeah, I really do want to give Final Fantasy a sincere shot, right? And Final Fantasy 7, the remake trilogy, seems like probably a pretty decent place to do that. I do have on my Miu Mini Plus, I have Final Fantasy 5, and maybe 6, but on there and stuff. So it's like, I think one of the 2Ds, the pre-Final Fantasy 7 games, right, or which are the top-down 2D pixel games, actually may have a good place for may fit in as a good spot for me, but yeah, I do want to give Final Fantasy at least an honest shot at some point, and so maybe.
Okay,
but
right. That was the longest answer to a simple question.
That's the only way I know how to do things.
That's right. Okay. I'm gonna jump to our next rumor that we will see. I'm gonna butcher this, but
Yeah.
everybody tuned out right after that. Master Chief Collection and Microsoft Flight Simulator coming to multi-plat, PlayStation and Nintendo. Are you gonna be scoring some kills and some sticky grenades on your new Switch 2 with this bad boy, or what? What's going on? And I have to step away for 1 second, so I'm gonna let you go. I think one of my kids might be up, so I'm just gonna mute myself and you keep carrying on.
Sure, keep those headphones on. But we're not. But yeah, I for some reason I just feel like Master Chief Collection just feels like would feel right at home on the Switch. I think it makes sense to send Master Chief Collection. Yeah, I mean, Xbox is clearly in a multi-plat strategy. I think Master Chief Collection, though, people said that Halo on any other console other than Xbox, it would be the death of Xbox and all this stuff and blah blah blah. It's all over. I think you could put Master Chief Collection on other consoles, and really just give people like, oh, this is a taste of Halo, or maybe you've played these in the past and you've moved to PlayStation, or you just have a Switch for whatever reason, and you haven't been in the franchise, but this is like, oh man, I really miss Halo, and they're like, what's Halo Infinite like? It could draw people to the Xbox platform, which I don't even know that at this point is really a part of the strategy or the desire for Xbox. But welcome back, Mark. So Mark's back. I'm going to recap real quick. So I just mentioned that Halo Master Chief Collection, I think is something that just makes sense if people have doomed and gloomed like, oh, if Halo sees another console outside of the Xbox platform, that's just doom and gloom for Xbox as a brand and strategy and blah blah blah, or at least the console business. And I was just saying, I don't know that sending Master Chief Collection is that. I think the Master Chief Collection is something that even obviously Xbox has their multi-plat strategy now. I think I think Master Chief Collection is a good one to like either give people the nostalgia that have left the Xbox platform for PlayStation or Nintendo for some reason. That nostalgia, like, oh man, I really like this definitely sells, right? Like you're going to get those nostalgia sells, or you're going to get people that have only ever been on PlayStation. Like, all right, what's this Halo like? This is the one franchise that Xbox all over my head. Yeah. This is
I 100% agreed, dude. Like it's gonna do is enable sales. You're talking about decade, what is it, a decade, more than a decade at this point, decades old games. And yeah, it's iconic to Xbox, but it's so old. You're not losing sales. You're not hurting the brand. You're only enhancing and saying, hey, are you going to, like you said, people are either going to double dip, they're going to play this as somebody first tried out, and then they're going to say, oh, how do I play the next one? Oh, if you buy a Game Pass, you can play on your TV. Right.
That's actually a good point, because like, it's like I don't have to go buy an Xbox to play the X one. I can just buy Game Pass.
Look, every episode, the Xbox strategy unlocks in your mind one more step. Yeah, it's just well, we won't get into that. We ain't got time to get into that. We ain't got time to get into that. We'll take that to the Discord. That's the bonus feature if you want to hear us argue over Xbox strategy. Oh yeah, if we had a Kickstarter, or not a Kickstarter, Patreon. Yeah, fire that up. But no, yeah, I think Master Chief Collection to me would just feel right at home on a Switch for whatever reason. It's like like less so that like something like Halo Infinite doesn't feel right at home on the Switch. Master Chief Collection does. Maybe it's that those old rumors of Halo being on DS and like just that's been stewing for a decade, and the Master Chief Collection is just kind of the amount the crossing the finish line for that. But it's just like having that nostalgia for Xbox games or for the Halo franchise. And it's like, to me, it might even get console sales if it's just the Master Chief Collection before like Infinite stuff. Cause it's like somebody buys Master Chief Collection on the PlayStation and they're like,
Oh man, I gotta go get me one of those Xbox. I miss Xbox so much. Like I love the Xbox back in the day, right? Like I gotta get an Xbox. I gotta get a Series S for Game Pass, right? Play Halo Infinite, play Halo 5, um, play Gears, right? But of course, Gears might be coming as well. To
Spoiler alert.
but no, I think I would you be interested in picking this up on Switch or PlayStation?
I'm interested in potentially having this mobile. I mean, it's Halo, dude. Every couple years, you hit up some buddies and you're like, hey, you got time to like, let's get together and like have some drinks and play, or just like, just like old times. And it's fun. It is super fun. We've done that a few times. And man, it was just it just takes you back, right? It's just a one night thing. It's not something I would play consistently. But if it's on there for $20, I'm probably buying it. There's tons of content there. And my kids are gonna eventually get older a little bit, and I'll be like, let's throw some Halo on, and I'll show you who's boss as they're destroying me and all the other new games, right? So, yeah, I would probably get this $20 or less. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure you've been able to get it for less than $20 on Steam. You have a Steam Deck, right?
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, I would probably do that. I'm gonna have to add it to the wish list.
Yeah, for me, like I would pick this up on the Switch. I think Switch also, because like I said, like you can dock the Steam Deck, right? But it's just like it's not as seamless, especially for like a local multiplayer experience. Playing local multiplayer, it's not as seamless of an experience, right? You have to like sync the controllers, and not that Switch doesn't have its problem syncing controllers, but the controllers are built to sync with the Switch, right? You can just pull the Joy-Con right off of the Switch and they're already synced. You can, and it's just in terms of having that true hybrid experience, especially with local multiplayer, just like first off, something about playing 4-player split screen in Halo 2 on my Switch just sounds wild, but
yeah.
Like that's probably where I pick it up. Like you said, just like the kids, maybe as they get a little bit older, and those games weren't as I mean, they're shooting and stuff, but they were teen rated, right? So it'd be a doorway into. But
yeah, you're not sawing dudes in half and stuff, but
But especially if there's cross progression, right? And that's I think a big piece of Xbox's that needs to be a part of Xbox's strategy is that all right, if everything is an Xbox, then everything needs to carry my saves. Everything needs to like all that cross every cross platform feature needs to be there.
And I think it will be. I think they're building that out. I think
it's just not yet, but everything's an Xbox.
All right, we're not gonna. We'll table that discussion.
Right. Sorry,
otherwise, we'll be here. We'll be here literally all night. So, on the theme of going multi-plat, we've got a couple other ones. Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2, Gears of War Ultimate Edition rumor, and Age of Mythology. So, I think Age of Mythology is probably a no-brainer. Really, it's just like an RTS that's not going to sell well. Needs more reach to make more money. Makes total sense to me. Hellblade 2, I'm also gonna say similar, man. Like this is a very, very impressive game. It is not a system seller. It is not a fun game in particular. I mean, even you bounced off of it, I think, right? Because it is so impressive. It's so cool. It's so well, the production value. But is it actually fun? And is there a lot of meat to the game? Not really. And then the last one is Gears. And I think this one's going to fall into the same thing you just said with Halo, the exact same type of thing, right? You got this Ultimate Collection. Yeah. These games are years old. You're either going to get, the nostalgia, the people that have never played it, and you're going to set them up to come play these new Gears games that we're going to talk about in a little bit. That might be a surprise this year. Any other thoughts that does your mind change on any of these ones that we just said for their multi-plat?
Yeah, the only thing I would say is like in Hellblade, the only thing is just like it is that showcase. It is, and it's just like you can only have the most impressive looking game out there on Xbox console. Like as far as console, like this is visually, audio, right? Audibly, whatever. The most impressive, like just showcase of what these consoles can do. And so it's just like you can only have that experience on Xbox, but is that really selling consoles? I don't know, but it is a little bit of a like but only on Xbox, right? Like, so maybe it's just like it adds to a pile of reasons, maybe, to have an Xbox, right? Like, or a
It's
little bit
certainly
of
not
like,
an anchor. It'd be more of an enhancer, I think, is what you're getting at.
yeah, just a little more like, but that's more of like a console war, like thing that you can throw around, right? Like, we got the best looking game out there, right? The most impressive technical feat out there is only on Xbox, but Phil and Xbox and Satya aren't really interested in console wars, right? They're just interested in making money. And like you said, it's not a particularly large seller. It's a very expensive game to make. Throwing it on other platforms just kind of that helps, make up for some of those costs, right?
Yeah, and it might get them to make a third one, and maybe we do get something with more meat
Right.
on it, and yeah.
And the first game, right, Senua's Sacrifice, was timed exclusive on PlayStation before Xbox bought what's that team, the studio, but
Yep. The team of Hellblade 2.
Yeah,
Ninja Theory.
Ninja Theory. Yeah.
Yep. So on through our leak week, next rumor. Do you know what this one is? Let's see. I'll give everybody I messed up my screen there. Give everybody a second to guess what this image is for. Do you know without looking at the list?
Is this Gummy Bears?
Project Gummy Bears. So Bungie's Secrets Project Gummy Bears MOBA, with that this week with the leaks and rumors, has been reported to have Smash Brothers like features. So if you're like Evan and I, prior to reading anything about it or discussing it, you're thinking, okay, Smash Brothers platformer MOBA, how is that going to work with a platformer? And really what it is, if you dive into the rumors and leaks, is that it's going to be a kind of your standard MOBA. That isometric top down at least is what we think right now, but the damage and stuff is not going to be a health bar. It's going to be that kind of damage stack percentage, and you're more susceptible to getting knocked out or knocked literally off the map, a la Smash Brothers, as you collect more of that damage, right? As you have more of that stack, and maybe you'll move slower. There was a couple other points in the leaks, and they've also filed some patents for certain tower mechanics. So, like, think of it like NPC type towers that either attack or do different things or move and interact with you. So they filed some patents for that, I believe. So what do you think about Bungie? Not only are they doing, Marathon, but this Project Gummy Bears. And my understanding is that, I don't know if you knew this, but this Project Gummy Bears, they took it from Bungie, took 40 Bungie people, if I'm not mistaken, and put them within another studio and had them take over and spearhead it. So Sony's in control, but Bungie and the core people that we're working on are staying intact on the team.
Gotcha. Is this the new AAA studio that
I don't know.
Sony spun up?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
So a few things. I mean, obviously this looks just like Destiny and Halo, right? Bungie's,
I almost spit out my water.
It looks closer to Fall Guys than any of those. But no, I mean, it looks like, it definitely sets a tone in terms of visually, like what you can kind of expect. Again, I think I'm trying to imagine what blowing players off the map and Smash Brothers style looks like from a isometric or perspective, or a not side like like the 2D side scrolling, it's not whatever perspective, that is Smash Brothers, right? Like that makes sense and stuff, but I'm just like, in a 3D space, what does blowing somebody off the map look like? And
I
really
guess it kind of comes at you, like how in Smash Brothers they hit the screen sometimes on one and then wipe down.
Yeah.
So maybe it kind of launches off that way. I don't know.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, because I'm like, you only have so much space left and right? It has to be up, before it's like, as from the Smash perspective, you can like, you can give this appearance of like it being this massive like launch, based on that perspective, because you can see them in the background, behind the characters and stuff, like turning into a little star, and it's just like, holy cow, they blew way off the map. But if yeah, like you said, maybe going up and then just kind of smacking the screen and sliding down or something like that, or like you said, that sometimes happens in Smash. That would be the way to do it. But no, I mean, this looks. I mean, I like the art style. Like sounds kind of like a fun, more lighthearted, way to MOBA type of game, right? Which are usually super sweaty. Outside of whatever Curtis's dead MOBA is. But is that Heroes of the Storm? But
that game's awesome.
I'm always curious to see what Bungie does. I mean, they've had their ups and downs in terms of being run as a studio and everything, but really their product has always been high quality in some way, shape, or form, right? Even Destiny in a pretty bad place right now, but it's like if you play the game, the gameplay is just unparalleled.
The gunplay, right, is like industry best, other than probably like Call of Duty. Whether you like Call of Duty or like Destiny or not, the actual mechanics and development of how the guns feel and each one's unique and they shoot, it's like bar none is those two studios, right? Or those two games.
Yep, absolutely.
So I'm interested to see more about this. It sounds unique. I'm all for people trying different new things and mechanics and mashing things together rather than the same thing over and over. The next Assassin's Creed or whatever it is, where it's copy paste typically, right? So
yep, yeah, I like creating new ideas and stuff. To me, it's just like, it's oftentimes like, oh, this is something we want to do, like, as long as, right, as opposed to something like a studio being forced into doing something different that they don't want to do, like like a service game because they need money or something. Like you think of Arcane or Redfall, but
right,
this definitely seems more your speed, right? It's like you play your Fortnite, your Marvel Rivals. This, I'm certainly going to be a service game, right? And you've played some MOBAs, right? You've played some Dota 2. So I'm curious
I'll
to see
be checking it out.
how you.
So before our next episode, we will have a developer direct from Xbox. And so this is falls into leaks rumors a little bit. This is an announcement, right, by Xbox. But per usual, they usually have their one more thing, which you can see here in the picture. So we know they're going to talk about from id, likely Doom, Dark Age. Compulsion Games will be South of Midnight. Samfall Interactive will be Claire Obscure 33, if I'm not mistaken. Then we have a surprise one at the end. There are some rumors, I think, that there's more than they're letting on. It's not just one other game or studio. And do you know what the quote was for about this game? I think it was from a brand new game from a new studio or an exciting studio or something. What was the quote?
From one of our it was a brand new game from the new studio or something like that. I can't remember what the context for the studio was.
Yeah.
So speculation, like one of the first things to be speculated for this question mark was Oblivion, right? And the Oblivion remake, which I was like, from a PR perspective, an Oblivion remake done by Virtuos to me is a brand new game from a different studio or new studio, right? In terms of, like, obviously Oblivion is not a new game, but Oblivion remake, as the industry sees it, is clearly a new game. As we I don't think anybody would say Final Fantasy remake is not a new game, but it's maybe some people would. I would say that in terms of Game Awards, but but then that was kind of squashed a little bit by some of the other rumors or some of the other insiders that have tweeted out that it's not that. And I want to, because, and I'm not sure if they said that because it's like it said brand new game from brand new studio. We got Jez Corden saying that take it or leave it for whatever it's worth, and I think it was only on Twitter that he said it, but which is the least reliable Jez Corden. For 3 levels of reliability from him, but saying that, like, he thinks it's going to be much bigger than people are expecting. And maybe that was, one thing I was wondering, which again, the new game from a new studio, from a PR perspective, maybe, but like from my head, like it couldn't be the Final Fantasy. I was like, maybe it is Final Fantasy 16 or Final Fantasy 7 remake or something is announced here, but I was like, maybe not.
Can I give you the quote? I found it. So,
Okay.
and I believe it's Phil that said this. I don't think it was the Xbox kind. I thought it was Phil Spencer. And we will visit a surprise location to see another studio's brand new game.
There it is. That is. So it wasn't like some new studio. It was just like another studio, right? So
Another studio's brand new game. So that would take out like Final Fantasy 7 remake or rebirth or anything like that. I think that takes out anything we've seen already. So you're not coming back to Perfect Dark or something like that.
Yeah. And I do wonder, even then, like, does it have to be an unannounced? Because Perfect Dark is a brand new game, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not.
I think
it's just because
I
it's
agree,
announced,
but that's like the technicality of it. I think just reading, like, if I was having a conversation with Phil, I'd be like, "Oh, okay, so you're going to show me something I haven't seen before," basically.
Right. Yeah, that would be our expectations. And if it's Phil that's saying that, maybe like less so than like Xbox Twitter or something like that. That you would have a little more expectation that it's not going to just be something that's already announced, that it is an unannounced game. I still think, that doesn't rule out Oblivion remake, but do you have any thoughts on, there was one other rumor out there on what it could be.
Okay, so hold your thought on the other rumor. A surprise.
I can't remember the rumor or speculation.
A surprise location. I think that's like really, not to like deep dive this and get all crazy conspiracy or anything, but a surprise location. Does that mean in Japan? I don't know.
Oh, like something, like just something really off the wall. I mean, I would imagine just not Seattle. No, or not Redmond or whatever. Microsoft. But no, I don't know. I would just like, location could just be a building, right? Like a surprise location. Like, oh, we're not in Xbox like HQ.
Are you thinking Toys for Bob?
I've seen some speculation for Double Fine.
Yeah, I have seen that a bit.
And
we haven't heard from them in a while, so I could see that.
And they were working on something. I don't think it was officially announced, but it was like some game from that Double Fine would work on. I can't remember what Tim Schafer mentioned it up, and it was like a 4-letter word. I can't remember it. Not a bad 4-letter word, just 4-letter word. But yeah, actually, I like the idea of Toys for Bob, right? It's a third party, but showing up there and then like seeing something like them working on, I would assume Spyro 4, as opposed to like a Banjo game or something, which I'm sure people would love.
Spyro spinoff, but yeah,
or I would imagine it would be Spyro before Crash, but before any more crashes. But yeah, I don't know. I like that speculation. Or I'm just like, is it going to be something that just like totally just like, holy crap.
I hope it is, and I hope it's more than what they're letting out. I think maybe they'll do like 2 more things. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I like this format that they do. It's cool. Like, they're providing us updates on the stuff. They give us a little teaser, a little surprise, and it's cool. I'm looking forward to seeing more about all these games. I am surprised that Avowed's not on here. Like, comes out next month, so I thought maybe they would hit it more, but maybe they'll do their own thing and just post about that separately. Maybe that's not for this event. I would love to see more Perfect Dark. Like, I was blown away with what we saw. Was it last year? So I'm keen to see more of that, but I'm happy to see these 3 games and whatever else they show. I don't think it'll be Oblivion remake. I bet that's a different time.
Yeah, I kind of based on what I've seen, what like all the rumors and leaks and stuff or rumors that are in speculation are coming out from like the insiders and things. It does sound like we might get Oblivion still before July anyway, before the second half of the year, but it doesn't sound like it's going to be here. Which I'm okay with. That's not the one more thing, right? Because that means there's still one more thing. And like you said, so did you say that you think there might be one more thing?
I do. I think there might be one more thing. Yeah.
I'm kind of wondering at that as well, right? Because usually there's 5 things, right? And Maybe it's just like, oh, this is the fourth thing is like just a we're telling you that there is a fourth thing, but then there's still one more thing. There's still a fifth thing, because that's generally what they've had. In turn, I'm like I said, I'm also looking forward to this thing. I think for a long time, Xbox really struggled to find their footing, and in terms of marketing their games and doing these showcases and doing these things, and doing these types of announcement and features for their games, where like in a time where it's just like Nintendo was just set itself apart in terms of they just had it down nailed, right? Like the Nintendo Direct format and everything, the way that they handled things was just like so much better than anybody else really in the industry. And we haven't had a PlayStation showcase in like 2 years, it feels like, but it's just state of plays that have been hit or miss, right? But I think in 23, when they started 2023 with this, the first developer direct in this format, that was really them really finally getting their footing and this and the marketing beats and these showcases or whatever, these types of updates, these for their games, right? And not just with this developer direct, but like they just have like one a quarter. And it's just like they show up. I mean, part of it is that they have games every time. They show up with games every single time. And
Love it.
Yeah, it's excellent. And now they have so many studios under their belt, right? That it's just like regardless of whether they're going to other platforms or not, it's just like they have some of the like just games to be excited about in the industry, right? And that's really what I care about the most.
Yeah. And I before we move to the next thing, I just had one random thought. Like, do you think in the world of corporate, Phil Spencer and those guys, they obviously talk to other studios, they know rumors and stuff. Are they dodging the Switch announcement? Do we know that Switch announcement won't be this week or this day? Because it's got to be part of your job, right? That high up, maybe not Phil's in particular, but like that team or his team has got to say, all right, when's the best time to do this developer direct? We got these games coming out. We expect, GTA trailer, whatever it may be. And there are rogue things, like Nintendo just does their own thing, right? But I'm curious if they like, all right, this is the date that's best. We know the Switch isn't going to be announced then. We expect it to be announced, a week before or the week after. It's just a random thought I had, so it's fun thought exercise.
Yeah, I feel confident that like somebody at Xbox knows when that Switch trailer is dropping out. You got
to know your enemy, right?
Yeah, and it's not even the enemy, right? Like, I mean, Nintendo and Xbox have been working together. I mean, Nintendo it feels like a pretty one-sided relationship, right? Nintendo just doesn't really give much other than, sure, you can release GoldenEye on Game Pass, but not online multiplayer. But anyway, but like Xbox has just been, they've had a lot of interaction with Nintendo, and I would imagine, like it'd be really easy for Phil to be like, all right, we know that you guys are obviously before March, you guys are coming out with something, right? Like we don't want our developer direct to get overshadowed by your announcement. We don't want to pull any attention away from your announcement. I think that, I think that Phil, I'm going to make a prediction here. Phil Spencer is going to show up at the Nintendo Switch 2 presentation. And with that Master Chief Collection logo, behind him or whatever on the screen, and just really announcing like this is like Xbox is loving it, is gonna it's
Nintendo, the multi-plat.
Yeah,
boosted membership. Yeah,
Nintendo put out a slide, right, with partners that they really want to like develop better relationships with for going forward and for their next platform or the next console and everything. Xbox Studios or Microsoft was on that slide, if I'm not mistaken.
Was that a leak slide?
That was a slide that Nintendo put out, right? I think it was in maybe one of their investor calls or whatever. Like these are the partners that we want to work with. So it's just like to,
and that makes sense definitely from a games perspective, right? Because Xbox is becoming more of a publisher, right? Kind of like Sega or whatever. So that makes sense. And I guess you made a really good point. Like they probably do know, right? They probably got a development kit. There's probably certain NDAs. You're not allowed to act on this information, or maybe they're not allowed to share it out without a certain group. But they've got to be developing games or porting games to it. So that's a very interesting corporate area that we won't dive into too much, but good thought exercise. And if you're a listener, comment on the video or on the podcast episode and tell us what you think about that. The secret world of corpo espionage between Xbox, Nintendo, and Sony. All right. So we're about an hour and a half in. We swore we were going to get through this in an hour and a half. So Evan, you've got 1 minute to talk about Switch 2 rumors. Just
oh my gosh.
So we'll try and keep it within 30 minutes. This will be our last topic of the day, the night, the morning of this episode. But lots of Switch 2 leaks, rumors. There's clout chasers. People are trying to, say they know this and this date and they know Nintendo's plan. But the big thing is accessory makers at CES claim to be, they have accessories that they think are going to fit the Switch 2, which says they know or think they know the dimensions and all that. So let's pull up some pictures. I've got a few to click through here as we talk. So you want to run us through quickly, the gist of the leaks and rumors, and then we'll discuss them.
Sure. So Genki or Genki, the accessory manufacturer, not the Twitter Genki. Apparently two different whatever. Has been really the big one right on the show floor. The one that's been showing this actually specific one that they put on their website. Again, they're showing it at CES. They're showing these they've got these 3D models or whatever of the, these printed models of the Switch 2 that looks like they were the Switch 2, but and then they're showing off like, there's a white model and then there's this dark gray one that with like some blue and orange undertones under the joystick and on the some letters and arrows or whatever on the buttons there. Maybe not in this specific one, but some of the other leaks, right? And so Genki's been, like I said, at the forefront. Other manufacturers and stuff have been showing off things, and then Nintendo comes out saying something about like these are not just like none of the things that are being shown are official. And then right after that, Genki says like they say that they're like, oh, we don't actually have a Switch 2. And these are just, we basically printed or we basically made this model. I don't think they printed it. I think they did die cast and all that stuff. Right. But, they made the models that they have, based on the leaks or whatever, the leak dimensions and stuff. So I'm kind of wondering if Nintendo ninjas are like, listen, if you ever want to work with us again, you're going to say that you don't have any information on this crap. Or if they really don't, right? Or if they really are just like, oh, this was the leaked information, so we're going to go ahead and be there and make obviously it's working their name in the news, right? In the name, their name out there. The other part is like on the what was like the rail part of the previous Joy-Cons of the Switch is now more of a magnetic mechanism, but is also kind of got the color tones. I mean, it's kind of cool, right? Like we've seen a few different ways these colors lay out. I don't know where exactly these colors are coming out. If these are not directly from Nintendo, even dev kits aren't the same color, right? The dev kits for the Switch were more of a black color than like the gray even. And I don't know that we even knew the neon blue and neon red color as well, until Nintendo showed it off or whatever. But if this is, like I kind of like the subtleness. It'd be cool to have something that's a little more fun, just to this is a kind of a toy at the end of the day, something that you play, right? And so like the neon colors was just something to like that was striking and really got your attention, whether you liked it or didn't or whatever. Just having that as an option, I think would be pretty cool. So we've got the side of the Joy-Con here, right? And it's the SNL or the trigger buttons on the single Joy-Con are a little bit bigger. It seems like there's a little more leaning into that single Joy-Con play, possibly using it as a mouse, right? So
there's an optical sensor there in the middle.
Yep, up above that, like the long slot there. There's like a little square in the image if you're watching on video.
What is the long slot, by the way? Is that part of the magnetic mechanism, or is that something else?
Yeah, I believe so. I think so. It looks like it's maybe a like a male female type of like a USB-C, you know how like the way that it works out, right? Like it just kind of slots into the side of the Switch too. That's what I'm thinking maybe. But yeah, like said, there is
yeah, the
sorry,
mouse
but
capability is interesting. So I'm gonna cut over to a different picture. Can you picture? Well, literally, you can because it's right here if you're watching the video. But can you imagine yourself using a Switch 2 Joy-Con as a mouse? I don't. It's hard because I think a lot of you're gonna on Reddit and all these other places, you're gonna see the PC master race come in and be like, "It's so stupid, so uncomfortable. Why would you ever do this?" You know, they're just gonna put it down over and over. But could you ever see yourself using this? I totally see this in Nintendo formats, usual fashion, right? They're gonna put in some type of Mario game or something, and it's gonna be pretty fun. You know, WarioWare, Mario Party mini games. I don't know. I mean, is there other mouse functionality you see? Like, what do you think is going to happen?
So I'm going to share something here. I do have obviously a few thoughts here. So this is kind of a 3D representation of what it might look like using this, right? So this is going to be a bigger.
That's not the Nitro Blaze 11.
Yeah, right. So right. I was gonna say so this is the Switch 2 is going to have a bigger screen, right, than the Switch. So maybe tabletop is a little more viable an option, right? But also like it's kind of I feel like it's the third forgotten feature of the way to play the Switch. And so like, are they going to put this almost at the forefront, or they really want to highlight like remember there is another option trying to reach maybe another market, right? Well, how do we make this tabletop mode expand the market into somebody that might want to play tabletop mode? Well, maybe that's probably laptop people, right? Or people that do gaming laptops. So showing it like this, like looking at this, I was like, and based on that one image you sent too, there was a little video that came with that. Shout out to ATB, by the way, for sending me this. Me and ATB have been talking about the Switch 2 a lot this week. But yeah, so it's got Metroid Prime there on the screen, kind of showing off like what that might look like. And it's like, oh, you got mouse controls, right? So now you've got mouse controls, you got motion controls, you got stick controls, however you want to play, right? Talk about accessibility, but also just like whatever way you want to play in terms of comfort. And it's kind of cool, right? You're just kind of holding the one controller in the hand, and using that kind of as almost like a nunchuck style, right? This makes me think back to the Wii. You've got your nunchuck, and then you've got your mouse though. And then additionally, so it almost looks.
Can you pause there? Can you pause there before you share any other image? I just wanted to digest this. Looks awesome. No, I mean, I think it's pretty unique. For better or worse, I don't. Maybe there's probably a reason nobody's done this yet. But if anybody could do it, it's Nintendo. The only thing you don't see here is a hand on that Joy-Con. I mean, it looks fantastic, right? Until you put your hand on this, I could see it being uncomfortable. I could see, that thumbstick getting in the way as you try to rest your hand on the skinny Joy-Con. So I'm really curious to see what they do.
I think so. A couple. Like so the video or the picture that you shared, the picture that you shared was of the hand on. There was a small clip of that I also saw, like of the person doing that. And this is just a regular Joy-Con, right? This isn't the Switch 2 Joy-Con, which will be bigger. So it actually looked somewhat natural, for compared to what you would expect, right? Especially compared to like how this doesn't look anything like a mouse, but it just kind of like, oh, that doesn't sound like too actually terrible. And the joystick, is that your scroll wheel, right? So,
does this guy have two fingers and a thumb, by the way? No, I'm looking at his hand. I'm like, okay, just checking. All right.
But yeah, so it didn't look too terrible. And then you've kind of got like, your two trigger buttons, or your bumper and your trigger are your left and right click, right? Yep. And then you have access to the joystick as maybe kind of scroll wheel, and then some hotkeys on the for the
listen to this guy, some hotkeys, throwing out hotkeys.
But also, right, like, so this feature is built into the Joy-Con, but like if you're playing Switch on the TV, are you using your Joy-Con or your Pro Controller?
On the TV, I'm using a Pro Controller.
Pro Controller every time, right? Like, like unless there's some situation that you are forced into using the Joy-Con, you're not using that Joy-Con unless you have to. So the Joy-Con is there to be, all right, we can do everything everything that the system can do is going to be built into this Joy-Con, right? Every way to control the system, every way to use the system is going to be built in this Joy-Con. But if you want a more traditional console experience, here's a Pro controller that's excellent ergonomic, by the way. But if you want to play this tabletop mouse mode, here's a mouse, right? Like here's a mouse controller and a Nintendo mouse, right? So when they launch with Mario Paint as their big, as their big, what is it? Oh, what's it called?
Launch title.
Flagship AAA. Yeah. No, launch title. No. But I mean, here again, a Metroid Prime or something, right? A first-person shooter, or Civ 7. You've got you're playing Civ games or whatever. All these games that are, and it allows for, say, traditionally, like so Nintendo has been the second best platform for indies, right behind PC, right? And so it's just like they're just giving more accessible, and really indies have really found their home on the Switch, right? Like found a good home on the Switch, and a lot of popularity on the Switch compared to the other platforms, right? The other console platforms. So we have Indie Worlds, we have showcases dedicated to indies on the Switch that get a little, I feel like, get a little more notoriety than the others. But here's all right, these other indies that can't come because they require a mouse or something like that. Well, now you can. Now you can come over to the Switch and maybe get some get those
That's
features.
fair.
And then, like I said, it opens up for third parties accessories. Do you allow Bluetooth mouse, etc.?
Okay. I think I accept everything you said. I think it's fair. I think that's probable. I also think Nintendo's going to Nintendo. What are the odds that they have this and they don't really open it up very well? And it's really, remember we talked about predictions and you said, I think there's going to be a forgotten feature. You mentioned that. Do you think that's this or no?
Yes.
Ooh, yes.
Yes, I do. I think they're like, it's just something to show, like, oh, see, we're still innovating, right? I think this is the IR. I think this is the IR camera. I don't
checking that box.
I don't think like. I think there's going to be some games that use it in a really cool way. Maybe you get a few third parties on there on top of that, quick, or a few indies that are just like, you get an indie developer or a studio with a few developers that are like, oh, this is so cool, let's lean into this, right? And then they could pump out a couple games or something that use it. Maybe it gets utilized a little better than the IR camera, but I do think this is kind of the long forgotten. And what if it's? I also was like, what if this is actually just like another IR sensor in terms of like, all right, this is a better location for our fitness game to take your vitals and or something,
like strap it to your leg, like Ring Fit or something. Yeah, and it's
right. Or like the way you hold the Joy-Con is just like you have your thumb right there, and so here's your pulse. So like, as opposed to just
totally see that being very possible.
Or like they don't use it as a mouse at all, and like they use it in a way. But I do like the idea of something like that happening. But then but like it is the same type of optical sensor that a mouse has, and so then like third parties are like, why wouldn't I just use this as a mouse, right? You get these indie games that are like, I'm going to use this as a mouse.
And so, Nintendo's sitting there like, wow, we never thought about using it as a mouse.
Right. Or they get real mad. How dare you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The disrespect, right? The disrespect. What are the chances that there's something we're missing? Like, I think leakers, rumors, reporters, cloud chasers, they're all pretty positive. This is basically Switch with some better internals, an extra USB-C port on top, and whatever these Joy-Con do. Do you think that's pretty accurate, or do we think Nintendo's still playing it close to the vest and has something else that's going to surprise us hardware-wise?
Yeah, I'm curious. There's that C button, and I haven't really heard any great ideas on what that is. I think one I heard was maybe cursor, and I was like, oh, for mouse mode, right? Like you push that to use the mouse. I was like, that makes sense. What if that is what it is? But we don't know what that is. I think there's some okay ideas on what it is, and it's like maybe it's just something that's just like camera is something that I've heard. But it's like, if it's camera, is there a camera on this thing that we don't know about? we have all these specs. Like we think
Mhm.
we've seen the entire shell, but maybe not. Maybe there's actually a camera built into the IR camera spot that's on the bottom of the Joy-Con, and so I think it's pretty likely. I hope.
Or under the glass, right? I mean, phone
Oh
cameras are
yeah,
under the
that's true.
glass
Right,
now.
like a notch type thing, right?
Yep. Yeah, like the
Yeah, or
pill and the
yeah.
notch.
No, that's a good point. That sounds maybe a little bit more likely too, but and then that allows some of the the Wii U had a camera on the front of it, right? But
Mhm.
yeah, I think and hope that there's certainly some things, features, or at least features, maybe even parts of the hardware that we just aren't aware of yet. Um, that I don't know. I can't wait for this thing to see. Another rumor is that the 17th, January 17th, is kind of the date, which would be not Tuesday. It would be Friday? Is that Friday? Yeah, next Friday, which sounds a little odd
Mhm.
for Nintendo, but it's like, oh, it's the day after Donkey Kong Country Returns or whatever releases, so it's like they get Donkey Kong out of the way. But man, they're trolling on Twitter right now. They're posting like just their promote all kinds of promotional material for like there's like Jar Jar Binks coming into some Star Wars game, like some like I don't want to say obscure Star Wars game, but some not very popular Star Wars game, right? This isn't like Battlefront or Outlaws or something
Oh,
like that,
it's
right?
bounty hunters probably, right?
Maybe I didn't think it was that, but anyway, maybe it is. But anyway, it looked like some isometric like action, like maybe Diablo style game, but um, so I don't think it was by bounty hunters, but anyway, maybe it was. Yeah, the size of this thing is like I hope those joysticks are at
I
least
hope the Joy-Cons are bigger and Hall effects.
yeah, and that's also some of the rumors, right? Is that they are Hall effect sticks, whether or not that's true. It's almost like you think as a consumer, you're like that makes total sense, but as a business, you're like, well, then people don't need to buy controllers as often. um,
No.
but and we could get away with it, right? But so we'll see. I just hope I hope the sticks feel a little more solid and have. I would like to see that well be a little bit deeper, to where we have a little more range of motion, maybe, or just like the sticks on the Steam Deck, like, and these ones don't look like the sticks on the Steam Deck are like full size, but and these don't look like that. But I just hope they just feel more solid, right, on the Steam Deck versus the Joy-Con, and I just hope we get something that feels more solid on the sticks. But yeah,
Hmm.
I don't know. Do you have what? Yeah, I've been real
Well,
excited. I have not been stopped refreshing, on Reddit and Twitter and all this stuff. I'm
I,
like,
I,
come on, baby. I'm just
yeah, I know
so
how
hyped right now.
excited you are. I am too. I'm not to the point where I'm like refreshing all the time, but I just don't have my phone all the time. Just the nature of my life right now. Um, but if I did, I would get nothing done. I would be looking at it constantly. Um, Not to disappoint you, but 2 hours ago, the leaker that said the 17th will be the reveal is the same guy who made up these GTA 6 rumors, and he just got banned from some forums and had admitted he made everything up. So, guy might not be the most reliable. So maybe the 17th is not going to be the date. So, that's what happens with leaks. You live by the leaks, you die by the leaks. But I feel pretty confident it's going to be this month. We'll get some type of announcement because we've heard a lot of rumors that this thing will sell in April, maybe. And that's why we're getting some of these specs and stuff, because factory workers have this, right? If it's being made right now in production to do a spring launch, North American spring launch, um, stuff's going to slowly come out.
Right. Yeah. I agree on that. And sorry, I was just gonna bring up one more
Do it. Bring it up.
image
Bring
here.
it up. Yeah, I'm curious to see the mouse thing, dude. If it really is a mouse, I think it's a nice add-on. I think it's a nice option. I'm not sure how comfortable it'll be, but I would love to see, like, Nintendo's so good about I'll pull up your screenshot. Nintendo's so good about going off the wall with their features, right? Like thinking outside the box. They truly are, for better or worse. Like some of them, they flame out and they're terrible, but other ones are like, wow, that's a really cool, unique use. I would have never thought to do that, and it's pretty fun. So I'm always down
Yeah.
to see what they're up to.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of keeps it exciting. Kotaku, for whatever it is, in 2025, take what you will for Kotaku, but they did push out an article that was that basically said something along the lines of like, if Switch 2 is just a better Switch, like I'll be a little bit disappointed. And like going through the article a little bit, it just talked about it. Like so I think some took that as like, just like, well, how come you wouldn't say this about PlayStation or Xbox? And I'm like, because PlayStation and Xbox have never been innovative, and it's not that like that they shouldn't be. It's just like there's no precedent for it, and it's just like Nintendo is the company that we like. I love Nintendo because of that, for better or worse, as you said, right? Like they're the only ones that like have these wacky ideas, and sometimes they become, like the Wii and the Switch become these insane sellers, and even the DS, right? Some of their most insane ideas, right? Some of the craziest ideas or craziest concepts that have come together to work, like to be some of the best selling consoles systems of all time. Or you get the Wii U and you market it terribly because you're just so out of touch. And even if you had a decent concept, like you did for the Wii U, like people don't even know that it's a new system, and they don't even know, you don't market it well. You don't, and so again, it's almost you said live and die by the leaker. You kind of live and die by Nintendo's crazy ideas, right? But it's like it would be a little bit disappointing if like this would be the first time since the Super Nintendo that like Nintendo just kind of iterated. And like there was always some kind of notable change, and even then it's just like I don't know.
So I know you've been doing Duolingo, but I'm going to be totally shocked if you read this to us. I think the viewers are too.
This right here says Nintendo of Japan. I think, I might be off on the of Japan part, but I might just say Nintendo. No, so Nintendo of Japan Twitter or X, whatever, earlier this week changed their banner to Mario and Luigi showing off a blank white background.
And it looks like it was something that was erased because you could see two different textures there.
They did the same thing in 2016.
No, they did not.
If my source is correct, I don't remember specifically them doing that, but I did see that somebody saying like this is not even like, oh, they did the same kind of thing. This is the exact same image.
Wow.
That they
so either top tier trolling or it's history repeating itself, right? Like get ready.
Right. So again, and it's like, or it could be somebody on Reddit or Twitter or whatever that's posted this trolling. So, and then I'll just go ahead and scroll through a couple of their tweets. So this is Star Wars Episode 1 Jedi Power Battles, right? What is Jedi Power Battles?
Yeah, baby.
I said it was
baby.
But yeah, you've got Jar Jar. Like, what better
Jar Jar?
What better character to use to troll your fan base than Jar Jar Binks? But he's a little asymmetric, okay. But so they're like tweeting out this, right? Like all these I'm trying to scroll on our stream lives. But so they're putting out tweets like this, like everything's going crazy on Twitter with all these leaks and rumors and all that stuff, and like and in Nintendo of America's I hear just like find out what Mario and Luigi are. Check out this Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah, they're just looking the other way, right?
Right. And they're like, let's use all this attention. Here's a Game Boy. It's Nintendo's new system.
The Lego Game Boy. Yeah.
And it's just like they're a little more active on Twitter. And I'm just like, I mean, honestly, standpoint, it's like you've got more eyes on your Twitter account right now than probably you have in at least the last 8 years.
Advertise, right? Yeah.
Right.
Advertise it up.
But so we're a little over an hour and a half though.
We're almost at 2 hours. Man, I am really excited. Seriously. I know you're like the Nintendo fanboy of the show, but I like Nintendo. I've got a Switch and I play it, and definitely did not have as many games as you do in that corner there. But I'm super pumped to see what they come up with, and I'm eagerly awaiting this announcement. I'm eagerly awaiting what is Xbox going to show us, and what handheld is maybe coming down the road from them, and just how things are going to shake out in the next year to two. Really need to know, and I need to know how much my wallet's going to hurt as well.
Yeah, right. Oh yeah, I'm kind of curious. Like if it's gonna be $400 or $500. I think I feel pretty confident that it's gonna be either $399 or $499, maybe a 450 or $449 or something. But I can't imagine it being under $399, right? Like based on what we're hearing about it. And I can't imagine Nintendo selling a console at above $500.
Man, unless I saw a post talking about the pricing, and there was like some rumor leaked at 400 Canadian or something, and I was like, ooh, that's I don't know if Canadian makes sense because the price
that was the one.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that was the one that the guy got. I'm sorry, the guy that got the PS5 Pro, and that was the one that did it end up showing false? Is that the one you told me ended up being a false? Sorry, go ahead.
I'm pretty sure it is false, but it got my mind thinking. It was like,
right,
forget the Canadian thing, and even if it was true, maybe it's like lost in translation, right? Like it's actually 400 US or whatever.
US.
Would we know that a lot of these consoles, if not all of them, sell for a loss typically, but how much of a loss, right? I'm actually curious if like Nintendo would come out with some crazy price, and knowing that they've now built out Nintendo Online subscription, they're gonna sell add-ons, whatever. Now that they have a more robust portfolio, do they just say, look, we need as many installs as possible hardware-wise? Let's cut it by $100 off of what people are thinking. People are thinking maybe we'll come in 500 with this powerhouse of a Switch. Here it is for 400. Here it is for 300 US dollars. Is that a possibility in your mind?
400 Canadians, about what, 280 US. So maybe they do just bump that up to 300 or whatever, or even but
that would be nuts, dude. That would be a big power move.
So at that point, right, you're not only taking a loss on that, but then you can't keep the Switch OLED. You're going to continue selling that for another year or two.
Price cut, maybe. Have we gotten official price cut at all on any of the Switch consoles other than bundle stuff?
None of the Switch consoles have gotten a
I bet they get a big price. I bet they get a
I would imagine
price cut.
I would imagine so, but like, what is the OLED going to get a full $100 price cut? And even at 250, if this, if 280, if the Switch 2 is 280, who's going to buy a Switch OLED for $30 less? I mean, you're pretty much just setting it out to die, or you're just going to go, all right, all we have now is, the OG Switch at what, 200, 220, 219, and then the Switch Lite at 180, maybe 175, or 150. 150 would be a great price, I think, for the Switch Lite. That's a
fair point, but maybe they do price cut it and they just say, look, we're not producing these anymore. Whatever's out there is out there as the warehouses get emptied, and it's $100 off each, whatever the price works out to be. Maybe they permanent price cut it and they're just done. And this is the Switch 2 now.
I can't imagine Nintendo doing it. I don't think they've ever done anything like that. I feel like they've always produced their console, even like when the Wii Classic or whatever, or Wii Mini or Wii Mini, whatever it was, or that black with like the red trim Wii that didn't have internet. It was a top loading disk drive and just completely stripped down. They were selling it for like, I feel like it got down to like $50. Maybe it was like $100, but it was just like, it was dirt cheap, and it was basically a Switch, and it didn't even have Wii Sports on it, or it didn't come with Wii Sport, bundle with Wii Sports at that point. But it was just like, here's for all the remaining retirement centers that haven't gotten a Wii yet, right? The retirement communities that haven't gotten a Wii yet for their lobby to play Wii Sports. And that is a massive price cut. Nintendo's never taken a loss on their systems. And so
is that accurate?
Yeah, I'm pretty certain they've never taken any loss, and they are the most notable for not taking a loss on their system. So if they did, maybe it was a brief period or something, but I don't, from what I understand, that thing, look at that thing. I mean, it's a kind of a cool looking system. I was like, I wish it just had online connectivity because I like the red Wii nunchuck or Wii controller nunchuck and the look of the system, but it was just garbage.
3DS and Wii U were the only ones ever sold at a loss, and the 3DS was after price cuts.
Yeah, after
So
price.
they have price cut it and
that was two failing systems, right? The reason the 3DS, both of the Wii U was obviously a commercial failure, and then the 3DS started out as it had a really slow start. It was looking like it was going to be a failure until that price cut. So yeah, and I can't imagine, again,
But again, that's a lesson learned, right, from the 3DS. So you just pointed out. It's like, hey, not that they're going to get a slow start with Switch 2, but there is that possibility that if we price this, in that case, it was a cut because the product was already out. But if we price this in a way that's going to spread like wildfire, we're going to make it up on games, guaranteed. You're going to make more than enough.
It's true, and Switch has a pretty good attach rate, especially for the number of units that are out there, right? In terms of software sales, and I think Nintendo's lessons learned is going to be we sold the Wii U at a loss, and it was our worst selling system since the Virtual Boy.
Yeah, but that's what do you call that? That's not causation, right? Like that's just coincidental. That's happenstance. That's not the reason.
I'm just
that
gonna
it was.
We sold at a loss, and it still didn't matter. Is what I think Nintendo's
right.
Say like that didn't impact the sales, right? We didn't sell the Switch at a loss. We never even discounted the Switch. We never even gave a permanent discount on the Switch. And for 8 years, it's easily our best selling system ever. Next to best selling home console ever. Yeah, so I don't know. I and again that's I hope that the hardware is good enough that selling this thing at $300 would have to be such a loss that it's just not doable. We were talking on the Discord yesterday about Funk was like, man, I wish they would have a $700 console that could at least perform. So I could just kind of have an all-in-one handheld. And I was just like, I don't want necessarily a $700 console. I don't need one, right? From Nintendo, they do just fine, like with what they do at cheaper hardware. So just give me cheaper hardware, and especially if I'm probably going to be a multi-Switch 2 household. So it's like I don't want to buy more than one of these things at $700, right? And then
but what if there was the option? Do you think they would do models?
Maybe. Or something like that. That's they've had multiple SKUs, but they had multiple SKUs with the Wii U, which again didn't do well for them. But I want to say that's the only one that they had at launch, multiple SKUs.
I think less is more at launch, at least.
Yeah, I think so too. And then obviously they have multiple SKUs. Like they just come out and it gives a second breath of or second wind to launch a new model a year or two in, right? Or a couple of years in, right? Like the OLED, the Switch Lite, right? They came those, and it just kind of gives them a little boost, right? Into the life cycle. So if we see it, I think we'd see it then. I think the OLED was probably originally going to be a Pro model, but then COVID happened and the chip shortages and all that, blah, 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 blah. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some kind of higher end model. And it's just I would probably be on it. That's maybe when we get our second Switch 2 and my house is the kids get the original launch one and I get the nice high performing one, but
as is tradition, as it should be. Interesting. I think I have more questions. So when they launch this, we're thinking, let me ask you this: do they the games are all going to be back compat and they keep both Switches active, or do they discontinue the original Switch?
I'm sorry, they just stop making it?
Yeah. They do a pretty good job of supporting, right? I think even in the last 2 years, it was finally, 3DS eShop is going to shut down, whatever it was. They keep things around for a while, but I'm saying do they really want to force people over to the new Switch 2 and so that they're done with the Switch? And I don't mean cold turkey. I just mean hey, we're not going to make any more what's out there. Or do they keep both and your entry into the Switch family is still that Switch OLED or something, or are they pushing the Switch too
Right.
hard?
Yeah. So I kind of wonder if they don't actually release another iteration, like say this summer of the Switch. Kind of
Mhm.
like the 2DS XL, kind of like that Wii Classic or Wii Mini or whatever it was called.
I hate
Right.
that.
Just
But go ahead.
here's the 2DS XL, the new 2DS XL is what it was, right? That they launched, I
Yeah.
want to say in the summer of 2017, after they launched the Switch. And then that's just like this is the entry into Switch going forward. Here it is, $200. I could also see them keeping the Switch Lite, or maybe they have a dockable Switch Lite, right? That just kind of becomes the entry point of the Switch family, like you said. It's $200, right? Or maybe $180. And so I do kind of see that, because I don't see them keeping 3 SKUs around for any significant amount of time for the Switch when they're focused on the Switch 2, right? It is. So I got a question for you. Do you go just down to like, okay, all we have is the Switch OLED, when the Switch 2 doesn't have an OLED screen?
Ooh, that's an interesting question.
As far as we know.
Right. We believe it has an LCD. That part of me that think that's like why they're just going to cut it off.
Right. Well, that's what I'm thinking. Maybe they just release a new model, right? A Switch Lite, a dockable Switch Lite, and
That's
and
so
then
wild, and Nintendo would absolutely do that because they're Nintendo.
right. Like, I mean, right? The new 2DS XL, we're getting rid of the 3D feature, and here's the whole
Here's
like
the
gimmick
exact
of the
same thing.
system.
Yeah. All right, I got another question. I'll turn back over to you. Maybe a little thought exercise. Coming off the failure of the Wii U, Nintendo's not in a good spot. They're not selling good numbers. The Wii U was abysmal. I don't know what the numbers were at the time, but they're developing their next project. They're looking to source parts. They're not getting big price breaks or great deals because they're in a bad spot. The Wii U sold terribly. Nvidia, AMD, Intel, the companies they're talking to are like, look, we're not really confident you're going to sell, 10 million like you say you are, whatever the number is. We see you more at like 500,000. I'm just making numbers up. So here's the price, because we all know that the more you buy, the cheaper the price, right? Or they know that you're going to have, such a long lifespan of this device, then they can cut you a break, or the price reduces at a certain point. That's also a common thing, like 5 years in, or so many units bought in or pieces bought in, then the price goes down. So coming off the Wii U, that definitely would not have been the case, and they even went after a very cheap and old Nvidia chipset. We all know this, right? A mobile chipset that was old at the time, the Tegra chip, and it was kind of what they had, and they had a good
Really
deal
old
on.
now.
Yeah, right. So coming off the success of the Switch, did they have the capability to go to Intel, Nvidia, AMD? I believe we think it's an Nvidia chip again, if I'm not mistaken. But did they have the capability to go to them and get that huge price break? Because Nintendo wasn't seeking them out. Nvidia is more seeking Nintendo. They want to be the partner, right? Before it was a risk for these chip companies potentially. I mean, of course, they're a business partner, but there's a lot of risk. Now they really want Nintendo because they want to bet on the next winning horse that's going to sell crazy millions of units. Does that go back to my point of the reduced price? Are they able to price it cheaper than we really think they can because of that?
So I think, this is a custom chip with NVIDIA, most likely, right? I'm sure it's based off of an existing NVIDIA chip, or
Exactly.
a
Mhm.
forthcoming NVIDIA chip, right?
Yeah.
So I think that, like, they put the Switch OLED out there, right? They didn't want to do that. They thought that the $350 price point for this Wii U was a part of the problem with its selling, and that's why we had the $299 Switch. So there's definitely some precedent in that thought as well. But I think that when they launched the OLED at $349, I think it was them like tipping their toes back in the water. Okay, maybe it wasn't just the price point for the Wii U that caused the failure. Let's launch the Switch OLED for $350 and see how that does for 350, right? And I would say that they probably felt like did pretty well at that price point. And I would guess that they're, you know, they see the Switch Lite and that's at $200, and it doesn't seem that it does it as well as the OLED or the base Switch even. And so that cheaper isn't necessarily more sales, right? Like just in theory, like it sounds like if this is cheaper to get into the household, you're going to sell more because people can afford it better. But I think that people kind of are just like, they have a content amount that they're going to spend on a console or something. And I would say that, like, I think, you know, that they are, Nintendo is less going to be like, okay, let's make this console that we've come up with as cheap as we can. And instead they would probably like be working with NVIDIA, like, all right, let's make the best console we can for $349 or $399 or $499, right? Like this is the price we want to hit. Let's make the best possible console we can hit for this price.
Yep. And that's typically like how a price negotiation goes in the tech industry. I've been in part of those before on the engineering side, and that makes sense to me. And I also think, you know, this is why marketing's literally a field that you go into, right? All the research of this, because there is definitely a psychological and maybe even sociological effect of, if you make your console cheaper, people think it's cheaper. It's not as good, right? And there's been consoles and handhelds before that have run into that. You know, just for example, like I'm just going to, you know, again, make up some stuff really quick, but, you know, Xbox Pro comes out and it's $500, but the PS Pro comes out and it's $600. There is a thought process where, the 600 one might be better, and that might not be what you and I think, but that is a psychological effect that can happen to people. So you have to be very careful how you price it. So, you know, maybe you're right as well. And when I think about it that way too, is that if you go too low, you know, what does that do to your market? Does it confuse people? Do they think it's, you know, a cheaper version of the Switch that's already out? I mean, you know, the average people, not the people listening to this podcast necessarily. So I don't know. It's an interesting thought process. I bet it comes out, I'm guessing 350, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. I think 399 is that price point. I think 399 is that price point. And yeah, back to your kind of marketing thing as well too. It's like, if somebody goes and buys, you know, even a second OLED, a Switch or whatever, and they get a Switch, they just bought a Switch OLED for $350 this year or last year rather, and then you launch the Switch and it's at $299. Like, you have an annoyance. You have a Switch. You know, like, wait, what do you mean? I could get this new model for less than what I just bought this one for, or whatever. And like you said, it creates that disconnect too and that confusion, right? Wait, you were just, even this OLED gets a discount to $249 and it's only $50 more to get the Switch 2. Oh, and you're still also, hey, it's only $50 more, but also you're like, this was just 350. Is this less? Like, is the tech really that much more in this thing? Like, am I really getting much more of a system than what I had in this OLED kind of thing? But yeah, 349 is yours. Mine's 399.
Okay. Interesting. I wanted to go back to really quick before we end up closing out. The Joy-Cons, you talked about you wanted some more fun colors, and we were looking at some mock-ups that were like only under the thumbsticks and on the rails. Did we get the colors? I 100% believe that's because they're going to sell full colored ones later. And so that's kind of the approach that you're seeing anymore. Like Marvel Rivals, perfect example. Like they just added the Fantastic Four, and people are like, oh, why don't they have the classic blue suits? That doesn't make sense. You just introduced the characters. And it's like, yeah, because they know you want the classic blue suit and they're going to sell it to you in about a month. And I 100% think that's the same thing with the Joy-Con. They know you want these awesome, cool colors. They're going to sell them to you, you know, 6 months down the road. So,
which is wild to me that we haven't gotten official, like, transparent shells, because I feel like there's so much this is the oldest generation for, like, in terms of like market for a Nintendo system. I feel like this is probably the oldest market that they've had. You know, it's generally a family system, still is a family system that Nintendo puts out, but it's also, you know, they have a lot of people in our age group that are buying these Switches that just have so much nostalgia for these see-through controllers. You know, I know the plastic isn't as durable as when you add that whatever component is to make it transparent, but I mean, come on. you've got it already in the Switch Pro controller a little bit. Even if you give us just that little bit that like the Pro controller has on that Joy-Con, it's just like my goodness. Like I we did get a lot of different colors and stuff from the Joy-Con, but like I just expected, like I remember all the speculation and stuff that we had really Reddit and Twitter and all that stuff had when the Switch was initially like back in 2017, 2016. That it's like, oh man, they're going to make all kinds of controllers. We're going to get those atomic purple controllers for the 30th anniversary or whatever, N64 or whatever it was, 25th anniversary. And we're going to get, and also just not even just like, stop it. Oh man, I have a bag of those and I have a bag of those behind me in this closet, but pretty sure I have each one of those colors. Maybe not the smoke. I might have the smoke, but I mean, look how good that looks, right? Like, I don't know, maybe it is just our generation, but gosh, that's so cool looking. And that's what my Miu Minis are.
That's our generation. We're the ones that have the money, right? The market right now.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And those are the Miu Minis I just bought. Both of them are at that transparent. I got that blue one, I got the purple one. But the atomic purple's not even there. I just have the grape. But so that, but also like different type of controllers. Like I expected those rails to just like not just Joy-Con, like not just the Joy-Con as we know it, but just getting like, I expected to get all kinds of, just maybe not all kinds of, but at least a handful of obscure accessories that slid right onto that rail. And we never did. And so I'd be curious to like, maybe that's the Switch 3, right? Is the Switch 3 leans into like just, but it is a barrier in like a cost barrier is like you have to have a specific accessory to play a specific game or something. But it's like, I don't know if you necessarily have to, right? Like it's just like optional thing of like, oh, this game is best played with this controller, right? And then you include it, and then you include that controller or that or whatever with like the Mario Party game or whatever, whatever game it works with. I would imagine like that's where those types of accessories would be featured, as maybe not Mario Party specifically, but that level of game, right? Just a more like just kind of family fun, like not serious game, just but I don't know.
Right.
But
well, hopefully before next episode, we're going to see more. It would be awesome if we got both the Switch announcements and the Xbox Developer Direct. Would love that.
Yeah. But
you got anything else that you want to cover in episode 22 before we close out?
Yeah, I don't think in terms of content wise, I'm curious, like we were targeting kind of targeting an hour and a half right? And we're 45 minutes over that, shorter than most of our recent episodes. So there's at least some progress there. I'm curious, we spent a lot of the time talking about what we've been playing and stuff, and usually it's me taking up time because I spend 10 minutes talking about a game I've played for 5. And but
you're not wrong, but we do like to
Right. So I was just curious, like, if leave a comment if you've gotten this far, that you're probably our most interested, or our feedback we're most interested in, and into the episode. But like, leave some feedback on like the format and stuff that we have. And we start off with what we've been playing. Do you think we go on too long with what we've been playing, or do you like hearing about what we've been playing? How deep we go into what we've been playing. I'd be really curious. Again, leave a comment either on the video or come join the Discord. Gosh dang it, Discord. Don't discard it. So that's kind of like a little nugget here before we kind of get into our little our plugging in all our links and stuff.
Cool. I did want to do a giveaway, so I got for Christmas, I got a expandable storage card for my Xbox Series X. So that came with a 1 month Discord Nitro code and a 1 month Game Pass code. So I do want to give that away. And I think the way we're going to do this giveaway is we want obviously people to watch the show and get engaged. So if you can tell me in the comments, or preferably in our Discord server, this fact, what is the new picture that I have on my wall in this episode? And I'm going to give you that answer right now, so that you can go comment that and let us know that you watched the episode, or at least you're really good at scrubbing through the episode and finding exactly this. But it is this picture You got to tell me the content of the picture. It's Baldur's Gate 3 cast and where I got it. And I got it at the Oz Comic Con in Canberra, Australia. So if you comment that in, we'll select randomly from the people that comment, and I'll give away those 2 codes.
All right. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I do think we forgot to mention who did win our last giveaway that was donated by ATB. So I'll just take that opportunity. That was Agent 810 from ATB's community. It came over to our, joined our in for one of our episodes and stuff, and fully commented that we chose that winner. They actually commented, according to the content, which it's fine that. I just like the participation, but that we did get. But I like that they commented on their favorite of like what we talked about plus their favorite, which was
that's awesome.
I thought it was pretty cool. So appreciated that. But yeah.
Cool. So yeah, we'll wrap up episode 22. Looking forward to episode 23. I'm hoping maybe we'll get a surprise visit from Curtis next episode. He's a little under the weather these past couple of weeks, and he had some family visiting as well. So, we hope he feels better, plays a lot of games like we like to do when we're sick on the couch. But join us for episode 23, and hopefully we'll have a Switch announcement and the Xbox Developer Direct to go over. As usual, like, subscribe, let us know what you like or don't like about our content, as Evan called out earlier, and definitely join the Discord in the link below. We'd love to hear about you, and you can tell we engage with the community. We play games with you guys, we talk, and then we even talk about it on the show. So if you'd love to be a part of the community, please jump in.
Oh yeah. Speaking of the community, shout out to Super Beef for pointing out our mishap in the last episode and letting us get that fixed pretty early on. So
yeah. The honorary producer editor for that one. So thank you very much, and we'll avoid that issue this time. So I'm signing off from Australia.
And I'm signing off from Cleveland, Ohio.
All right. We'll see you next time. Have a good one.
Grab your controllers, time for the show. Friends together, ready, set, go. Games on channel.